Hello and welcome back to my channel, What If Deku 2O. Join us as we delve into the realms of fanfiction and fantasy, bringing you the best stories and discussions. Today, we're kicking off part 17 of our series, What If Everyone Gets Obsessed with Deku and Had Harem? If you enjoy this video, please give it a like and subscribe for more content in the future. The author of this story is Guy number 23 from Fanfiction.net. All the relevant links are in the description. Feel free to say hello to the author on their profile. Now, let's dive into the fanfic. And that concludes the topic. Now, as you already know, there are some tests ahead, and after them, we'll have a winter break. Ooh, winter break! The class roared in excitement, completely cutting off Aizawa, who simply ignored. He wasn't in the mood today. After the students subdued, he proceeded. While on winter break, the team system will be disabled, as many of you will go to different hero agencies. Eh? So we'll have another internship, Kirishima said out loud. Aw man, I was hoping we could just slack off for a change. I'll remember this, Kaminari. The blonde flinched upon hearing his name. Great, now he had Eraserhead's laser glare aimed at him. We're returning with the hero work study. During the break, you will not have missed classes, so it is a good opportunity to really focus on getting more experience. You may go to the same agency or choose another one, but keep in mind the connections you have made so far. Well, that's it, I'll leave now, said the teacher, sleep bag already under his arm before he opened the door and left the classroom. The teens immediately started to discuss where would they go to and what they expected this time. It was clear that some of them returned much stronger after their first experiences helping the heroes, so everyone was pretty hyped. Another reason for eagerness was the idea that came during their talks, a Christmas party. Normally, they would spend the holidays with their families, but since they were all here together, why not throw a party? Everybody was excited and started to make plans, but a certain group of girls had second plans in mind. Plans that involved our precious cinnamon roll. Back at the dorms, Midoriya just left the kitchen and was going to join Kirishima and Kaminari to play some games when suddenly he got pulled aside. Albeit a bit surprised, he smiled when he saw Uraraka. She got a little closer, looking to the sides quickly, then spoke in a low tone. Deku-kun, can we talk a bit? Sure, what is it? Deku-kun, what am I to you? If he was confused before, now he completely lost. What? What do you mean, Uraraka? What am I to you? How do you see me, Deku-kun? How was he supposed to answer that? Wasn't it obvious already? You're my girlfriend. Why are you asking me this? She stared into his eyes in silence for a moment, then a slight frown formed in her face. I am only your girlfriend? No. I mean, you're my friend too, and a hero partner, or so I hope. Why are we only that? Is there something else? He asked with genuine doubt. What was she expecting him to say?
You know what you are to me, Deku-kun? That tone wasn't a good sign, was it?
Your boyfriend? He tried to guess. Yes, and more. Much, much more. The brunette now had a visible frown in her face. She held on his shoulder and pulled him closer. I love you, Deku-kun. Did you know that? Yes, I'm pretty sure this is obvious. No, I mean that I really love you, Deku-kun. To the point that I really wouldn't know what to do if I lost you. She flipped them over again, and now she sat on his abs, her hands still firmly holding his shoulders. You mean so much to me, you're my life, and I want to spend all my days with you. That's good to hear, I feel the same. Every single day. Deku-kun. I want it, I need it. The last days have been so hard for me. Now he wasn't sure if Uraraka was getting more angry or horny. Possibly the two options? I know we haven't been as close as we used to, but we can work this out. The winter break will be a good opportunity to spend time with everyone. Mine. Eh? The way her eyes shone with lust now sent a shiver down his spine. That's what I am to you, Deku-kun. I am all yours, and you are all mine. I agreed to share you because I can understand you're irresistible and yeah, I'm happy for the girls because they're happy too, but She started to ramble in a way that gave him the impression of someone inside her head. He could relate to it. But then she focused on him again, and her grip on his shoulders turned a bit uncomfortable. Deku-kun, you are my boyfriend, right? Why, yeah, but like, I'm your girlfriend. The first one, right? I love all of you the same, but yes, you were the first. Her hands then cupped his cheeks. Then why do I have to go through this? Why do I get less and less time with Deku-kun? Ochako doesn't get it. It was supposed to be just us. Just Izuku and Ochako loving each other. So Izuku and Ochako spent some loving time together having sex. After that, her glazed eyes slowly focused on him, and apparently Ochako was back to reality. Then he proceeded to plant a soft kiss on her lips, retreating before she could reciprocate. Did you feel lonely? He asked her tenderly. Yes, she answered, nodding her head slowly. We see each other every day, right? Yeah, and we have a lot of fun with everyone, don't we? Well, it is fun, but I just want. Ochako. Yes. The way she responded was almost like a little dog. Do you think I would ever stop loving you? Or that I would leave or pick someone else over you? No, she said, looking away in shame. She was being ridiculous, wasn't she? But she simply couldn't help herself. Even if she agreed to share him, Ochako wanted Izuku all for herself. Then Izuku moved her chin again so she would look at him in the eyes. His gorgeous emerald green eyes that she loved so much. I'll say it one more time, okay? That way you can feel the thing I do whenever you say that. I love you, Uraraka Ochako. I would never, ever leave you. I love you as much as I love any of the girls, but you are special to me. You are unique. You all are. The amount of time I spend with you won't change how much I love you. The brunette remained still for a moment, then her eyes filled with tears, and she started to hiccup and lowered her head on his chest. By default, Midoriya thought he said something wrong. Oh, Ochako, what is going on? I didn't say anything bad, did I? Then she lifted her head, hugging him tightly. Wa Izuku, that was one of the sweetest things I ever heard. Hick, you can't simply make me cry like this after a good time. Sniff. SHHH, someone could hear us. He hugged her closer, letting the brunette vent off her emotions for a while. Once subdued, Ochako got up and both went to the bathroom to clean up. Her bedsheets would need to be changed and a bath would be welcome. Usually, they would keep doing their funny games for a much longer period of time, considering the crazy stamina Izuku developed, but this was a different case. Uraraka was more needy and lonely than horny, and Midoriya understood that. That made him wonder if the other girls would feel the same. Probably yes. Things necessarily didn't have to end like this, but he felt that some alone time with each one of his lovers would be pretty welcome. Since the team system, and even a little before, the girls agreed on giving him more time for himself. And while he appreciated it, Midoriya worried more about how they felt. He could still take some time to meet with Tsunotori and get closer again to his girls. Sure, a few hours of sleep would have to be sacrificed, but it was worth the shot. Feel better? Midoriya asked, embracing her from behind. Much better, Uraraka said, holding his arms and smiling at their reflection on the mirror of her bathroom. She could see his toned muscles that were still developing, and she felt like this was the safest place to be, warm, loved, and in his arms. Oh yeah, you said you were going to play with Kaminari and Kirishima-kun, right? Ah, shit. And off went the Emerald Boy. How much time passed? Uraraka felt a little guilty that she dragged him along like this. It was really risky. But she simply had to. She couldn't wait for it anymore. Sometimes she felt really happy with what she had, this whole sharing thing. It felt almost like a family. But sometimes when she was alone with her thoughts, this little shadowy thing would creep out of its hiding place and scream inside her head that Izuku should be completely hers. That jealous lust monster could speak pretty loud sometimes, but then Izuku would say sweet things like today and make all her inner turmoil go away. One of the many reasons why Ochako loved him so much. The afternoon was quite pleasing. Despite the increasingly cold wind, the sun still graced everyone with some extra warmth before winter really came full force, a nice time to go out and walk or something of the likes. Yet here she was inside the teacher's room and stuck with test questions. It wasn't as if her classes were super hard, but Kayama personally found that part of being a teacher pretty bothersome. Unlike a certain friend of hers with a penchant for logical ruses, she didn't get any satisfaction from setting traps for her students, but she couldn't make the tests too easy. Finding the balance between the two was her goal again, not the most exciting activity in her to-do list. The purple-haired woman leaned back on the couch, stretching her arms up and releasing a relieved sigh as her muscles felt less cramped. Looking outside the window, Kayama let her mind wander for a bit. It has been some time since she and her favorite teen had some fun. She was to blame, though, as all the teachers got busier with the breaks coming closer. A smile crept in her lips as she remembered an overly excited Yu telling about her first practical exercise. Apparently All Might gave her a little push, and now she was all giddy with helping to teach the brats. Humph, that and showing herself off to Izuku. Kayama said to herself, shaking her head slightly. Well, back to the notebook. These tests won't finish themselves alone, you know? But then, a notification popped up on her screen. She just got an email from Haruko? What could she want? Kayama opened the mail, looking curiously at the subject. Proposal for winter break. There you are, Izuku. Everyone cringed when they heard the sound of annoyance arriving. Himiko didn't pay any attention though, jumping on Midoriya and hugging him from behind. Despite sensing a few triggers going off inside his mind, the Emerald Boy remained at least visibly irritated, one eye twitching as the blondie clung on him and giggled like a little kid. Let go, Himiko. No, I don't wanna, she whined playfully, the equivalent of tossing gasoline in the fire since the girls present in the common room all were glaring daggers at her. Sato looked amused at Tsuyu by his side, for he had never seen angry croaking before. Midoriya kept looking at the TV, doing what he could to remove her from his perception. Perhaps if he focused enough on the game, she would go away, eventually. Kaminari and Kirishima glanced with concern at him, but the green teen held such a bored and neutral face that they didn't know how to help. Perhaps ignoring her was the best route since Himiko took everything they said with a pesky cheerful tone. She kept nuzzling against him for a little while before letting go with a small pout in her face. Ah, Izuku, it's not funny if you don't react at all, she complained with both hands resting on her hips. To that, Midoriya slowly turned around, half eyeing her over the couch. His face made it clear that he didn't have the energy to deal with her antics today. If you want something, say it already. His tone was so flat it would make Aizawa-sensei sound excited. And surprisingly Himiko seemed taken back, or at least surprised. She seemed to hesitate for a second before pulling a wide grin. I have something to tell you. We have to talk, she said with confidence. Not really. And her confidence quickly changed to confusion. Wait, what? The green teen turned back to the screen as he heard the sound of his character taking damage. His face changed back to a more happy face as he focused on the game with his friends. His voice still sounded distant and lacking any emotion towards the blonde. We don't have to talk. It is you that wants to talks. Well, yeah, so can we talk now? No, I don't want to. His flat responses apparently made her more annoyed and frustrated. I have something important to discuss with you, Izuku, she said and got closer to the sofa, leaning on it and moving her head closer to his head so she could see his face. Midoriya, however, leaned forward, clearly to avoid getting her in his field of vision. Then say it already. She leaned back, looking away shyly and twirling a hair strand around her index finger. It is something I have to say kind of in particular. Too bad for you. Now she seemed to be really frustrated. Oi, Izuku, that is quite rude of you, you know. I don't care, say it or leave already. The tension was so much that Kaminari could almost feel his batteries charging up. Himiko stood behind the sofa with puffed cheeks, strangling the hem of her plain blue and oversized shirt. Everyone had their attention turned to her and the green teen. Then she quickly moved forward, hands up and aiming for him. Yaoyorozu and Ishido were somewhat closer, so they got ready to remove the annoying blonde, but to their surprise, Himiko grabbed Midoriya by the shoulders and started to shake him lightly back and forth, whining as a spoiled child denied of her wants. "But I want to. Izuku, you have to talk with me. This is important. You have to. You have to. You have to. You have to. You have." "Ah, fine, whatever." Midoriya suddenly got up, letting his controller fall on the sofa. His eyes were wide and his face was the definition of fed up. Anything to get Himiko out of his hair. The teen turned around to face the giggling blonde. Inside his mind, he felt Nana put a hand on his shoulder. This would be a pain in his ass, wouldn't it? "So, what is it?" Midoriya questioned her with that newfound flat tone of his, arms crossed and leaning on the wall. Himiko stood in front of her bed, for once not looking straight at him. "Don't you wanna, sit down?" "I'm fine here. Let's get this over with already." Geez, talk about mood. The glance he shot towards her general direction was a sign that he was about to leave, but before he could move, Himiko started to talk. "Look, I wanted to talk about us." "Us? There's no us here, just you annoying the hell out of me," he said while glaring at her. Did he finally make it? Did Midoriya just put Himiko in her place? "Oh, come on, Izuku. You don't have to be so bitter with me. After all that we went through." His frown deepened as soon as the words left her mouth, and she halted immediately. "Okay, poor choice of words." "You don't say." "Look, I'm trying to be reasonable here." "How so?" he asked with a skeptical tone. "I noticed, okay, you have been ignoring me a lot more lately. Like, fully ignoring. You don't even jump when I sneak up on you. And the problem is?" "That's not funny. I thought we had that thing between us, but you're totally ruining it." Himiko sounded legitly wounded by this. "Look, I don't know what kind of stupid game you had in mind, but I never pretended to be your friend. At least you finally got that right." Midoriya internally felt relieved that Himiko seemed so frustrated about him ignoring her. It meant that she was somehow grasping the situation and would eventually, hopefully, realize that there was no way of meaning anything else to him aside a burden, a source of trouble. Himiko remained silent, looking at him with what seemed to be incredulity, as if his words sounded like impossibilities. Then she hung her head low, staring at the small yellow carpet next to her bed. Seeing she fall silent, Midoriya took this cue to leave, but something halted his steps out of the room. Did he just hear a sniff? Looking back from the corner of his eyes, Himiko seemed to shake a little. It was soft, almost imperceptible, but it was there, the sound of someone trying to suppress tears. Against his better judgment, Midoriya turned around, but stood where he was, watching the crazy blonde. It's hard, you know." Her voice came out slightly broken. "What? Keep the act together or convince yourself that I like you." She remained silent for a moment before rubbing her eyes with the back of her hands. "Ouch! You're really mean when you want to, Izuku." She slowly faced him, and now he could clearly see some droplets just waiting to roll down her cheeks. However, her usual smile remained. It is hard to live a normal life like everyone else. He lifted one eyebrow and crossed his arms again, skeptical but a little curious about what she had to say. Himiko turned to the glass door. The sun was slowly going down the horizon, and its orange tones invaded the room. "Nice sunset, I like it. Do you like sunsets, Izuku?" "Eh? Yeah, I guess. Most people like sunsets too, normal people. They go on with their normal lives, and they like sunsets and lots of other things. Pretty things. Do you like pretty things?" "Oh, obviously you do. That's why you have so many girlfriends." Midoriya was about to talk again, but when he noticed it was yet another insult to the blondie, the words died on his mouth. Himiko kept staring at the sunset in silence for a minute. "I think blood is pretty. That's why I like it so much. It is red and shiny, and it feels nice to drink it warm, though I don't mind drinking it cold. You don't like blood, do you, Izuku?" "I like it inside my body, where it belongs." "Hehe. Where's the fun?" Well, for someone who constantly gets hurt badly, this is quite the statement. As much as he hated to admit, Himiko managed to make him blush from embarrassment, even if a little. Tesk, I'm working on it. I don't mind. In fact, seeing you all hurt during the sports festival was so lovely. Sigh, I wish I could see it in person again. The Emerald Bye flinched a bit on the last part. But as much as I like seeing you covered in blood, I discovered there is more than one way of showing love. I like it too. What is your point? She breathed in deeply and slowly released. I like blood, I really like. No one ever understood me, they all said I was weird, creepy, but can you blame me? My quirk is about drinking blood, and I even got these beauties, she said while poking her sharp fangs. Liking it or having a quirk related to blood doesn't give you the right to. To kill or hurt people, I know. I heard that a lot. She sounded mildly annoyed as she said that. Yet you keep doing it. Sure, I will do what I like. Isn't that what normal people with normal lives do? That's not the same thing. Then what is Izuku? She slowly turned to face him, her smile gone and replaced by a flat line. What is a normal life? Considering all that happened to him because of her and her constant presence, Midoriya thought he got more numb to her provocations, but the way she looked at him, her face, her voice, it all made something inside him shake. She was really serious about that question. And the worst part was that he didn't know how to answer. Sure, not committing crimes was a good start, but Midoriya knew Himiko enough that such an answer would not work completely. Since he kept silent, Himiko decided to answer herself. I live a normal life. I do things I like and avoid things I don't like. I feel happy and sometimes sad. I feel tired and full of energy. There are persons I like and I want to be closer to them. I want to be more like them. It is a normal life, don't you think? Yes, but you're stripping all the murder you do from it. It can't be helped. I like blood and it is inside everyone, she said, shaking her head and lifting her elbows. You can't hurt others because you think it is nice. That's why it is hard for me to live a normal life. Despite his shout, Himiko didn't raise her voice. Yet it was like her words exploded into his ears. Since I was little, everyone kept telling me I was weird, a freak, just because I liked blood. The teachers and doctors, mom and dad, the other kids, everyone said I couldn't like it because it was wrong. No one accepted me, no one stood with me, I was alone. Midoriya felt his heart clench a bit. Why did he have to relate to the feeling? She kept talking, rolling a hair strand around her finger.
I can't help but notice how people around me act, so I decided to fit in, try this normal life everyone talked about. I made friends, I had fun with them, I did things I liked, I had a crush once. But in the end, I was just faking it. When I tried to get closer to that boy, well, no one liked my approach, I suppose. They said I was wrong again, and the best part was hearing them say, "Oh, how could Toga-san do this?" I never thought that she was such a freak. I'm surprised she looked like a normal girl. Midoriya, now perplexed by her story, noticed the blonde balling one hand into a fist.
No one cared about what I wanted, what I liked. It was all about their precious normal lives. Mom and Dad called me a demon. Their own child, a devil beyond salvation. I don't blame them though, I didn't fit in their normal lives. So I left. I wanted to do what I liked, have pretty things. I set myself to live my normal life. Acting like a high school girl made the world treat me nicer. That way it was easier to avoid being caught. But I would keep living my normal life, doing more things I like, loving more. Himiko trailed off, apparently lost in thought and staring at Midoriya. He stood still like a statue staring back at her, and they kept like this for a while. The silence was so much that they could almost hear each other breathing. And so you decided to become a villain? He restarted the talk after feeling overwhelmed by the lack of it. Oh please, Izuku, no one becomes a villain because they want. I think people are prettier when they bleed, and that's an unpopular opinion, so it was bound to cause some trouble, she said nonchalantly, angering him a little. But you can say that. I got better at stabbing people and sneaking around, and someone thought I was skilled enough to be paid. The cash was good, but I liked to do my own thing, you know? Finding cute people, making them bleed slowly, it was fun. I liked how my life turned out. But then I saw you. Me? Yeah, I told you already, right? When we were at our date, the mention of the date was enough to send a shiver down his spine, but Midoriya didn't show it. Seeing you bleeding, hurting yourself, it was so cool. I liked Stain because he was always covered in blood, and I wanted to be like him. Maybe it was because our quirks were similar, but you caught my attention and I just knew I had to get closer to you. Since the very beginning, I wanted to be like you, Izuku, and for the first time, I felt that I was wrong. She stopped talking, looking away from him. You were wrong? For once Midoriya sounded purely curious since they started this talk. I thought I could only love someone if I saw them covered in blood. Seeing you bleeding like that was so exciting. I felt like I had found the one. Himiko faced him again, and her yellow cat eyes seemed to gleam. And then we had sex and everything changed. I felt for once that I didn't have to see you bleeding to like you, Izuku. And when Ochako came to take you away from me, I don't know, I felt weird inside. I like Ochako too, but I didn't want her to take you. Not because I couldn't make you pretty anymore. Well, that too, I guess. But I wanted to be closer to you. She made a brief pause, getting up and taking a step towards Midoriya. He didn't flinch or move. I wanted to be closer, so I came here. I wanted to know you more, so I tried the classes, boring as they are. I wanted you to like me back, so I started to act like everyone around you. I put an act before, I can do it again. She took another tempting step forwards. Still no reaction from Midoriya. You said you hated me, and I kinda liked it. It meant I was still in your head, so you wouldn't simply put me aside. I felt like I was part of your life. I like to tease you, and the way you react is so cute, or it used to be. Another step closer. There was a little more than a meter between them. I opened up to you. I said I was acting up, but it was all for you. At the time I thought, if this mask is what will get me closer to Izuku, then I can do it. But I don't want to put a mask anymore. I want to live my normal life and do the things I like, but I also want you. Himiko approached him as if Midoriya was a wild animal that could run at the slightly more sudden move, or attack her. I want to live my normal life, but only if you're in it too, Izuku, because I really love you. So much that I don't need to see you bleed. Well, a little bit of blood now and then would be nice, she added playfully. I can't say I'll stop liking blood, or that I don't want to slit some throats when I'm angry, make some shallow cuts on someone when I'm bored, but I'm willing to ignore it the best I can because I feel I like you more than that. Himiko stood in front of him, just a few inches away from the green teen with his arms crossed, a glare focused on her figure the entire time. However, his face no longer held any signs of boredom, neutrality, or even anger for the matter. He simply stared at her. Was he waiting for her to finish? I know you probably won't buy that from me. I'm not dumb. I know you won't ever forgive me for our date. I kinda prefer you don't forget it anyway. Just don't ignore me like that, okay? You don't have to love me back. I know this thing between us isn't normal. But again, what is normal, right? Ah ha ha. The blondie slowly reached for him. She wanted to be as close to Midoriya as she could, and right now he was standing there in front of her, just waiting to be taken. She aimed for his arm, but one scarred hand intercepted her move and held her by the wrist. It wasn't a sudden move, the grip wasn't strong. He simply kept her hand in place, halfway between them. It is so weird. She shook her head slightly. I want to cut you, see you get prettier as your blood slowly flows, but I also don't want to. I want to hurt you, but I also would kill anyone that caused you any pain. You hate what I like, yet I want to be near you all the time. It is really confusing. I don't know when to act or when to be real with you. I want you to think I changed so you'll look at me the same way you look at the other girls, and then I don't. Do you feel something like that, Izuku? She waited for his response, but not really. By now Himiko expected Midoriya to remain silent and perhaps leave without another thought, so she got slightly surprised with his answer, rather him answering at all. So you don't think you can ever change, that's it? Yeah, something like that. I might become the person I love, but deep down, I am myself. And you feel confused because you want to, but can't really. I tried. It is kinda ironic, considering my quirk and all. Midoriya looked right into her eyes, and she returned the stare. He breathed out, and she wondered whether it was out of frustration or something else. Himiko felt pretty frustrated for not figuring this out either. It means that no matter how much you try, we will never have a normal anything between us. I suppose not. Can't we return to me teasing you and you jumping and getting flustered? I'm fine with that. Not really, but you got the idea. Midoriya let go of her wrist and turned around to leave. He grabbed to doorknob, but Himiko put one hand on his shoulder. He halted but didn't face her. We can't have anything near normal between us, Himiko. He removed her hand, surprisingly gentle this time, opened the door and left her room. Midoriya left Himiko standing in front of the door as it closed. The silence was enough for her to hear his steps fading away in the distance. She walked back to the bed and sat down, looking at the ceiling with a neutral face. Then it slowly transitioned to her usual smile as she began to reflect on how this all went. She got to talk with Midoriya alone. This was a victory on itself, and somewhere in the process, she felt he actually started to listen to her, another positive. He didn't bash at her so much, despite the feeling of being stabbed in the chest when he said those mean things to her at the beginning. Himiko didn't blame him though, she didn't expect anything different. She only wished he paid more attention to her like before. She was a source of worry, so technically she was part of his life. To Midoriya, Himiko was fear, and that was probably the closest she got to be someone. Not using her quirk and usual tricks, that is. The only question left was, were her words enough to change his mind? On second thought, that was also the closest Himiko ever got to a normal couple thing. It was nice talking to him like that. Perhaps because for these few minutes, she had Midoriya all for herself. Even if just for caution, Midoriya kept focused on her. Usually, the pretty people she met would try and focus on anything else after some time to ignore the pain. At that point, they would turn into boring persons and Himiko would ditch them. But with Izuku? Oh no, she had his attention all the time. Back at their first date, she had to use some tricks like using Ochako's face, but even after that Midoriya kept focused on her. Be it enduring the pain, fighting against her with sheer willpower, and even with his mind slowly turning into a blurry mess, it all floated around her, and Himiko loved it. She liked to be the center of attention, more specifically the center of his attention, but was still confusing. It was confusing that despite her past, she didn't care that he hated what she liked. And you know what? She was okay with this. Most people wouldn't set with something that confused them, but Himiko was far from normal. Scratch that, she was a normal girl, and she had emotions just like any other girl. Hers might take a different path, but it wasn't a problem, not to her. Her smile widened into a bright-fanged grin, with her everlasting blush adorning her cheeks. However, this time it lacked the sadistic vibe and malicious intent. It was almost as if she was a normal high school girl. I don't understand, but I feel that it is okay. I like it, so I will keep living my normal life. Midnight. The veil of the night became his friend as time passed and more girls got added to his harem. Midoriya wondered if he would ever get to interact with his loved one without the need to hide it. Anyway, tomorrow at the same hour he would probably be busy with them. But tonight he headed to the 1B dorms. Hiding behind a tree, he looked at the side of the building, spotting one of the balconies illuminated by a faint blue glow. It was their signal to coast clear, so Midoriya didn't waste time, using his quirk to jump and climb up with trained stealthiness. He didn't even need to know on the glass door, as the person he meant to see waited right there. The short blondie welcomed him with a bright smile. "Hi, Midoriya. Glad you could come," Tsunotori said with excitement, albeit in whispers. "I'm happy you invited me," he said in the same tone. Tsunotori gave way to him and closed the door. Midoriya sat on the bed almost by instinct, and Tsunotori went to turn on the lights. She was sure all the girls were asleep, so as long as they kept the noise at the minimum they were safe. Besides, what was the point of showing off her costume in the dark, right? Yes, that was the reason why she called him tonight. As they agreed, Midoriya would come to see Tsunotori in her cosplays, and tonight she decided to make something even better. So you came up with a new costume, Tsunotori-san? Midoriya asked, now up and curiously inspecting the shelf full of manga owned by the short blondie. Hi. This one was a little tricky because I couldn't modify any clothes I had, so I had to use fabric. Good thing my sis put some into my things without me knowing, Tsunotori said as she changed inside the closet. Meanwhile, Midoriya traced with a finger the many titles on the shelf until he found a familiar title. There it is, Kaimsu no Yaiba. He picked the volume and started to flip through the pages, pausing to look at some frames with more detail. You started to watch this one recently, right? Nana's voice echoed inside his head. The girl was right. The anime is awesome. Agreed. The animation is really impressive, and the art style of the manga doesn't fall behind. Man, I wish they could remake some of the mighty adventures with this level of animation. That would get you hooked up in a second. Well, it is quality, he admitted shyly. Midoriya-san, I'm ready, Tsunotori called from inside the closet. My eyes are closed, Midoriya said, putting the manga back where it belonged. He waited patiently, hearing some shuffling, then the faint sound of the closet door sliding open. His mind couldn't help but wonder what she was wearing tonight. Considering she said it was tricky. Does it involve a boar head? Okay, you can look now. And as soon as he opened his eyes, Midoriya got marveled at the sight of the blondie wearing a white and red Miko kimono. On top of that, a beige apron with a red sash tied into a large ribbon around her waist. She had a pair of orange ears, apparently fox ears, and he also noticed the large fluffy orange tail with a white tip. Tsunotori put on a wavy smile, probably due to some nervousness, and gave her best warm welcome expression. Oh, Akari Nanajaya, you've had a long day, haven't you? Tsunotori struggled against the warm feeling coming from her cheeks to keep in character, but it was hard to ignore the way Midoriya looked at her. They stood still for a whole minute, no words exchanged. So, what do you think, Midoriya-san? She asked while poking her fingers together, avoiding direct eye contact. The query prompted a reaction from the green teen. The costume, Midoriya tripped on his words before taking a deep breath to calm down. It looks really pretty, Tsunotori said. Once hearing his approval, the blondie relaxed more, doing a spin to show off her cosplay. Then she went to her shelf and picked up one volume to show it to him. Here, this is the source material, the helpful Fox Senko-sen. She handed him the manga and Midoriya started to look between her and the fox girl in the cover. What is it about? It is about a salaryman who works too much. Then suddenly this kitsune appears at his home and starts to take care of him, cleaning the house, cooking, and pampering him so he feels better after a hard day at work. I see. Midoriya listened as she explained a little more of the plot, comparing Tsunotori with the cover. She got it almost perfectly, from the orange fox ears to the fluffy tail, the red details at the hem of the kimono, the red strings holding the sleeves in place, even the tiny flower on one ear. The only difference was her long blonde hair instead of the short orange of the fox girl, and her horns. I would normally tie my hair up and use a wig, but I don't have one for this here, she added. It looks pretty cute anyway, he told her with a warm smile. Tsunotori averted her eyes from him for a moment, feeling her face heat up a bit. Thanks, Midoriya-san. I was wondering if you don't mind, we could watch an episode or two. You told me you started to see Demon Slayer, so I thought of introducing another genre of anime. It's not full of action, but I think you'll like it. Oh, sure. Really?
Yeah, I'm already here, so why not? Tsunotori couldn't help but smile upon hearing him say yes.
She picked her tablet from the desk and sat on the bed, quickly searching through her vast library. Once finding it, she patted the bed, inviting Midoriya to take a sit. Both teens felt a small sense of thrill. Midoriya was just starting with anime and Tsunotori only watched it together with her sister. so it was a new experience for the two of them. She had watched it at least 3 times before, so she pointed out a few things now and then, avoiding any spoilers, of course. However, halfway through the 3rd episode, Tsunotori glanced at him, curious about his reaction, and she found Midoriya with distant eyes. His mind seemed to be completely in another place. Oh no, am I bothering him too much? I knew I shouldn't have asked. Hesitant, Tsunotori paused the video, catching his attention. Midoriya-san, is everything all right? Why, you don't have to watch if you think it is boring. What? No, I like it. It's just, sorry, I have a lot in my mind right now. But I'm okay, sorry for worrying you, he said apologetically. She didn't know why, but her next words came out so naturally, Tsunotori didn't have time to process before it was too late. Do you want to talk about it? Wait, no. Midoriya looked away, and the blondie mentally slapped herself for being so meddlesome. Of course he wouldn't want to discuss this with her. They weren't close friends or anything. What if it had something to do with Kendo? She felt so dumb for even asking, but at the same time, Tsunotori felt the need to know. What was it that put that troubled look in Midoriya's face? Perhaps it was because he listened to her and kept her secret and stood by her side. If it wasn't for him, she would keep hiding from everybody that she was into anime and cosplay, and she was glad for that. So maybe she wanted to thank him or do the same and be there for him? She wasn't sure if she would be able to, though. You don't have to if you don't want. We can call it a night and... No, it's okay. If you don't mind, I think I need to vent this off. Unknown to Tsunotori, it was Nana who convinced Midoriya into talking about it. It worked before with Hado-senpai, so why not give it a try with Tsunotori? However, the blonde made a surprise move that left Midoriya stunned. She adjusted herself so she was sitting on her knees and gently dragged the emerald boy down, resting his head on her legs. Midoriya looked up at her face with a confused and embarrassed look, to which Tsunotori responded with a shaky smile and a nervous laugh. Well, since I'm dressed as Senko-san, I thought we could do it like this. You don't want to? No, I don't mind. Tsunotori gently ran one hand through his green locks, taking some time to steady her heart. So, what is troubling you, Midoriya-san? Midoriya also took his time to think about how to say it. He didn't want to shower her with his problems. Well, you know about the situation with my class and her, right? You mean the villain girl? Yes. The whole deal was strange from the start, I know. Why would anyone do something like that, right? I thought about it a lot back then, and it seemed the right thing to do. I heard she hurt you. A lot. Then in more than one way. At first, I thought keeping her around would help me get over it. Like, face your fears and overcome them. And it worked to some extent, but lately, everything seems confused. What do you mean? You think she is up to something? You know why she came to Yua and surrendered? It was a rumor, but I heard she came all the way here to see you, because she had a fixation with you. A fixation? You can put it that way too, I guess. This shocked Tsunotori. So the psycho girl truly was head over heels for him. Having that confirmed gave her a sick feeling in her stomach. That's why she keeps clinging to you all the time. Yes, Himiko. She can be pretty obnoxious to everyone around her. The problem is why she acts like this. And it would be me. Himiko surrendered herself, cooperated with the police, and even started to attend classes, all because of me. Ugh, just so she can further torture you. Oh, sorry, Midoriya-san, I didn't mean to say it like that. It's fine, it is true. Himiko put me through a lot, and she keeps doing it. Only that now He trailed off a bit, pondering whether he should tell her all the truth. We had a talk this afternoon. I had been ignoring her for a while, and it actually had an effect on her. Until then, everything me and basically everyone else did to try and keep her distant didn't work. On the opposite, Himiko liked to be a constant nuisance. But this time she felt really hurt that I was ignoring her. Well, serves her right. Why should you have to put up with her bullshit? The nerve of that girl. Not only she kidnapped you and almost got you killed, but she also followed you here and won't let you be at peace. Oh, how I wanted to get my hands on her and— Tsunotori-san? What? Your English is slipping off again. Oh, sorry. Anyway, she wanted to talk with me about this and, long story short, she kind of want to change, leave her past behind. Huh? Why would she? Isn't that girl completely mad? The reason would be me. You kidding, right? I wish. Himiko, she legitly felt hurt because I ignored her. She really wants me to give her some sort of attention, even if I keep hating her. Okay, that's weird. She simply is like that. This is her normal. I once thought that if she wasn't, a villain, she would be a normal girl like anyone else. You're not considering forgiving her, are you? No, never. He brought on hand over his chest, grabbing his own shirt. Tsunotori noticed he shivered a bit. I would never forget what she did to me, but I don't know, Himiko is so confusing. I don't know when she is faking or when she really means what she says. Sometimes she acts like a total psycho, and then she turns into a normal person. Even Himiko doesn't understand why she does what she does. She is just doing what she likes. If she is so dangerous, why did you keep her around, Midoriya-san? She is dangerous, but when I'm around maybe I can keep her in check. Maybe if she stay close to me, Himiko would be more normal. Or maybe not, I don't know. I think deep down I wanted her to turn into a good person. Not everyone can be saved, Midoriya-san. I know. That's why I'm confused. This is what bothers me the most. The answer is clear, but I still feel something. They fell silent for a while to let it all sink in.
You think someone could change so drastically, Midoriya-san?
I'm not sure. Perhaps it is not about a complete change. Like it is still there, the things that make you, well, you. Himiko said she probably wouldn't change, but she would try because of me. Because she likes to bother you. Well, she said this fixation with me is almost like someone you like really, really much, Midoriya answered in a vague way, but it was enough for Tsunotori to understand, and she felt her blood boil up. Just imagining what kind of twisted concept the psycho had about such a wonderful emotion. You must think I'm stupid for allowing her to be around me. Midoriya looked away from her, but then she cupped his cheek with one hand, gently turning his face to her again. No, I understand why you did this. I wouldn't do that, but I understand you wanted to face your fears head on. And it is not your fault, she is the freak and the one blame. I kind of admire that in you, Midoriya-san. What exactly? That you would try to save even someone so evil as her? I'm not sure I could do the same. They remained silent for another minute, then Tsunotori started to caress his head. I wish I could do something to help you, Midoriya-san. At least let me pamper you a bit, as a Kitsune would do. She hoped to at least put the net of the night in a better mood. Midoriya tensed up under touch at the start, but bit by bit he relaxed, letting Tsunotori comfort him. It was embarrassing, even more when he could feel Nana staring at him inside his head with a huge smug smile crossing her face, but he didn't mind much now. In fact, he felt so much better now that Midoriya started to doze off a little. Meanwhile, Tsunotori found herself charmed by the sight. Seeing the boy at peace like this, and knowing she gave him a little help made her heart flutter a bit. Her relationship with Midoriya happened by chance, and he supported her from the very beginning. She wanted to return the kindness, the care. She wanted to share more things with him, and have him share his things with her too. It wasn't as if she disliked her classmates now, but something about him felt different, special. His face looked so soft now. Tsunotori slowly traced his features with her eyes, still ruffling his messy hair gently. He looked pretty cute like this, with those freckles of his, and such thought brought back something Komori said the other day. How did she see him as a man? Well, nothing changed, he was still pretty cute and handsome too. But now he seemed so more real to her. He had his problems like everyone, and still, he went out of his way to help others. Who came to the rescue when the heroes needed help? She didn't notice, but her head dipped a bit. Her eyes felt heavier and her vision faded to black around the corners. Something about this situation gave her a warm feeling. She was helping a friend, but there was something else. Was it because she was dressed as Senko, or because it was Midoriya sleeping peacefully on her lap? She watched read tons of anime and manga, but Tsunotori never thought it could actually happen to her. So this is how it felt like, she thought before everything went dark. 1 second, a blink of pitch black, and she jolted up, awake and aware of her surroundings. The sudden move apparently woke Midoriya up, his eyes now wide open. He slowly sat up, scratching his head. That was awkward, but it also felt nice. Thanks for hearing me, Tsunotori-san. Oh, sure, anytime. Neither of them looked directly at each other for a while, and the silence only added up to the uneasy feeling. I'll make sure to watch more of the anime. That's good. They didn't exchange looks or words regarding this, but both teens agreed to not address the elephant in the room. You look pretty cute in that cosplay, he added shyly. Thanks, you too. Wait, what? Eh? Ah? Midoriya and Tsunotori looked at each other, their faces matching in red hues. However, as embarrassed as they were, they didn't take back what they said. Since no one seemed to turn away from this staring contest, they just smiled at each other. Awkward smiles followed by their usual nervous tics, Tsunotori poking her fingers and Midoriya partially covering his face. No one felt the urge to correct any possible misunderstandings, at least not now. Looking at her alarm clock, Tsunotori saw it was pretty late already. It's almost 2 a.m. Oh, I should get going now? Yes, it can raise some suspicions. Yep, we don't want that, right? I guess not, ha ha ha. So they fell asleep for at least 20 minutes. Okay. Midoriya got up and Tsunotori followed without thinking, basically standing on his way. They laughed lightly and then went to the glass door. Midoriya climbed on the rail and turned around to say goodnight. So we can watch it together next night, right? Oh, sure. I could try another costume like Yozora. I see. Well, good night, Tsunotori-san. Sleep well, Midoriya-san. The boy jumped down and headed into the night. Tsunotori closed the door, keeping the cold wind outside. She stared at her hand with curiosity and wonder. It still held a reminiscent of the feeling. His soft, curly, and messy hair. Perhaps, if she focused enough, she could replay that moment again inside her head. Outside, running back to his room, Midoriya had a similar sensation. Despite the cold night, he could still feel it. He still felt warm. She walked through the noisy cafeteria with a spring in her feet. Mijire easily spotted the green-haired teen in the midst of the crowd, specifically the large group of girls surrounding him on the nearby tables. One on one side and one B on the other. The girls chatted happily, and if you didn't pay attention, you wouldn't notice that their focus of attention was the emerald child. To our blue-haired curious girl, however, it was not only painfully visible, but also extremely interesting. Mijire heard about this, making up in your head that two people are a couple or something like that. She never had a lot of interest in shipping, at least compared to the girls from her class. Even back at middle school, some of her friends insisted that she should go out with that one senpai from the soccer team, but she didn't see why. Now she understood why they liked it so much. It was fun to imagine Midoriya and one of these love-struck girls together. What would they do, if they would be open about it or not? She tried to discuss the topic with Amajiki, but that apparently triggered his anxiety reaction. Something to do with regret and never getting to deliver something. She made a mental note to talk with him about that later. Now it was time for Mijire to be bold and try again. She smiled at the thought. No one has ever rejected her before. Sure, she never asked someone before either, but a lot of boys and girls asked her out. She held a little fame of unreachable princess around the school, but Mijire honestly didn't do that to be mean. She just didn't think it would be fun at the time, and she understood that both parts had to be committed to this. That's how things worked, right? Will he say no again? Or maybe we can go out if I ask the girls nicely. As she entertained her thoughts, Nejire approached the tables, standing a few steps away and curiously observing the group interacting. Uraraka and Gyro sat on both sides of Midoriya, the latter lending him an earphone so he could listen to something on her phone, while the brunette happily ate some matcha. Next to them, Ashido and Hagakure gossiped about who knows what with the lizard girl from 1B on the other table. It must be something related to beauty, as the pink-skinned girl pointed an accusing finger towards Hatsume, who spat out some of her tea and covered her chest area. On the other table, Takage showed off her quiet friend Kodai, even groping her assets to demonstrate the proof. The Cold Queen, of course, didn't mind much, eliciting Yayurazu, Kendo, and Shiozaki to shake their heads. Tsuyu stared with a blank expression across the table, finding the gaze of the silver-haired ghost girl. Yanagi simply gave a wave before returning to the thick tome in hands. Finally, Komori happily chatted with Tsunotori, and Nejire noticed how the blondie would steal a glance at the green cinnamon roll when no one was looking. Well, almost no one. Let there be known, too, that on another adjacent table, great waves of envy rose from a perverted midget and a living phone charger. It's not my fault they are so big. I didn't ask for this, Hatsume said in her defense, as Ashido kept teasing, flaunting the clear advantage the young genius had over the average girl. You say that, but you don't twice before picking these tank tops that show everything, Ashido said, being bold and pulling down the hem of Hatsume's black tank top a little. Oh, oi. I'm telling you, Ashido-san's size is not everything, Takage said, once again groping Kodai's chest area to show her point. The format is very important, you know, and Kodai here got the perfect measures. I didn't ask to be like this either, Kodai commented without much emotion in her voice. Takage-san, please refrain from acting so licentiously, said the Vine Girl, trying to keep her friend under control. Huh? What are you talking about? You do have some good surprises under that shirt, right? The green-haired girl then changed her target and moved to prove her theories, but Kendo held her in place. I think it is enough, right, Takage? She asked with an uneasy smile. Truth is, she kind of felt a little behind on that matter, especially compared to her technical rival from 1A Yayurazu. Hef, if you're so confident, why don't we get an outsider's opinion, right, Midoriya-kun? PFFFT. Ashido held a sly grin as Midoriya looked back in panic. He heard some of the talks, and now he got dragged into it. This would be no problem under certain circumstances, but here in the cafeteria, where everyone could see and hear him. WW, what do you mean, Ashido-san? He faked innocence, looking at her with pleading eyes and hoping she would give up on making him go through this embarrassment. Come on, Muscles, you must have a preference. Every guy does, she kept going on, and now he could feel not only the stares of the girls upon him, but also his friends on the other table and some of the guys from 1B. Internally, Nana laughed her head off as usual, at the expense of his social awkwardness. I think that this is not the most important thing, right? He tried a more diplomatic approach. No, I want to know too. What do you like, Midori-kun? Gyro sent him the glare of someone whose sore spot has been hit, but it only served to mask the smile in her lips she could barely contain. On the boys' table, Kaminari leaned as close as he could to hear the girls talking, while Mainta angrily chewed some hard cookies, staring daggers at the green-haired teen. A few exchanges of looks were enough for the girls to decide it was enough teasing with poor Midoriya, so Ashido diffused this bomb, calling it all a joke. Well, in that case, I think I fall somewhere in the middle, right? Well, Ashido wanted to diffuse, but someone joined the discussion. Someone with blue hair. Nejire, always holding her bright smile, made her way into the two tables and into the discussion, surprising most of them. Oh, hello, Hado-senpai. Ribbit. Hello, everyone, I see you're having a lot of fun together, Nejire greeted them. Then her eyes fell upon Midoriya, who waved quietly, still inside in his bubble of shyness. Hi, Midoriya-kun-so, did you think about my request yet? Your request, he parroted, confused by her sudden question.
Yes, I was hoping you would be free this weekend, even if we don't get to exit the campus, she went on, making the girls curious about what was she talking about.
Sorry, senpai, but I can't remember of you asking me anything at all. He admitted a little guilty. Don't be silly. You said you would give it some serious thought, didn't you? I know it was late at night, but it wasn't enough that you couldn't remember, right? Hold up. Late at night? Uraraka raised a suspicious eyebrow while looking back and forth between the brunette and the green teen. Didn't she ask to get laid with you that other night? Sounded the feminine voice inside Midoriya's head. Not now, Nana-san. Wait. Oh. His eyes widened in realization. Hi so, Midoriya-kun. Will you go out with me on a date this weekend? There, she did it. Nejire asked Midoriya out on a date in front of all his classmates, smiling and all bubbly. Needless to say, every girl on the tables had a look of shock in their faces, mixed with different levels of incredulity and even some insult. On the adjacent tables, Tetsu, Shishida, Oase, and Kaibara almost snapped their necks, looking around in shock. Did she really ask Midoriya out? Midoriya Izuku, the guy Kendo was unofficially dating already. On the other boys' table, Kaminari short-circuited and Mainta banged his head on the table in frustrations, crying blood tears. Kirishima and Siro exchanged unbelieved looks, while Takoyami simply closed his eyes and crossed arms, followed by Dark Shadow sprouting and doing the same pose. Ida went stiff like a plank and Shoji took some distance as Bakugo started to grind his teeth and small explosions went off on his palms. Back to the girls, Nejire stared at the sitting teen with expectant eyes, and Midoriya simply had nowhere to look at. Scratching his head nervously, and with a shaky smile, he tried to make his way out of that mess. Well, you see, senpai. Did you really forget? But you promised me you would consider it, she said, a small hint of sadness in her voice. Midoriya winced internally as the situation aggravated. Oops, looks like you're in big trouble now, kid. You don't say. Can I at least make it less bad? I don't know. Why don't you try refusing again? It worked last time, right? I mean, she did come again, but... Oh, so senpai has her eyes on Deku-kun. This voice was the one he didn't want to hear. The sweet yet menacing tone Uraraka used on certain occasions. It normally meant bad news for him, so Midoriya couldn't help but shiver a bit. Uraraka-san, I see Hado-senpai. May I know when did you ask Midoriya out? Now Yayurazu was on it too. She had her hands together with a gentle smile and her eyes closed, but he could almost see the dark aura flaring up. In fact, Nejire could sense these bad intentions aimed at her from a mile away. She didn't want to put Midoriya into problems, but she found it hard to resist and provoke him and his friends. Besides, she honestly wanted to know if he could date her or not. There was no point in hiding it. Oh, a few nights ago I went to your dorms. Midoriya-kun and I had a small chat and I asked him out, but he totally rejected me. She faked a whine at the end. So I asked him to at least consider going out in the future. So, what do you say, Midoriya-kun? She turned back to him, and right now Midoriya was apparently trying to will himself out of existence, even if just for a moment. Wow, Hado-senpai came all the way to ask to go out with you, Midoriya-chan. You must be a lucky guy. Hagakure commented, followed by Ashido, Tsuyu, and Gyro. Yeah, a lucky guy. Ribbit, a lucky guy indeed. A very, very lucky guy. Late at night, late at night, late at night, late at night. Uraraka mumbled non-stop in a low voice. Ah, it's over. Mom, I might not last much longer. For real now, even if they get mad at you, what can they do? No sec for a month, because I have serious doubts about the self-control of these horny young ladies. Can someone die of too much sec? You're probably going to find you at some point in the future. Go get them, Tiger. Senpai, about that, I have to say. Hado-senpai. Another person cut him, getting the attention of everyone around. Tsunotori flinched once she became the new focus. She remained silent until now during this slow-motion train wreck, mostly because she wasn't sure if she could or should intervene, but seeing Midoriya getting pushed into this situation, and knowing how he wanted to never let others down, the blondie decided to act. She wished it wasn't via such an outburst, but she kind of panicked. Hello, Tsunotori-san, right? The blue-haired girl turned around, her bright smile never fading. What is it? It was kinda intimidating when she thought a little about it. Well, senpai, you see, you can't date him, you know. The last phrase barely came out audible as her voice died out. You can't date Midoriya-san, senpai. Tsunotori willed herself to speak louder and clearer. Huh, why do you say that? Nejire tilted her head to the side, one finger poking her cheeks. Because. With everyone looking at her, Kendo included, it became much harder for the short blondie to put her thoughts into words. She hesitated a bit, then inhaled and closed her eyes. Senpai can't go out and date Midoriya-kun because he already has a girlfriend. Oh, he has? Yes, Midoriya-san is Kendo's boyfriend, and I'm Kendo's friend and his friend too, so I can't let you go out with him. I know he is an awesome person, and I'm sure you can see that, but he is with Kendo, and if you keep insisting he'll feel guilty and you can't. You definitely can't. With all that pressure on her, Tsunotori's English slipped, but she delivered her message. Now, while most of the students present got only some of the words blurted out in a spree, Nejire shone a warm smile, clasping her hands together and nodding happily. I see. So he has someone already. Well, you could have told me before, Midoriya-kun, she said, apparently unfazed by this fact. Senpai, did you get everything Tsunotori-chan said? Komori asked with a surprised face. Not everything, but I can understand her feelings. My feelings. I can understand when someone is there to help his friends. Oh well, what a shame, Nejire said nonchalantly, turning around to Midoriya once again. It seems we won't go on our date so soon then, Midoriya-kun. The green teen laughed nervously, finding the oddly pacific stares of his girlfriends as he looked away shyly. Well, I should be going now. Bye, Midoriya-kun, bye, everyone. And so Nejire left, as casually as she got in here, leaving the poor teen surrounded by the stares of his beloved ones. If the situation didn't drain the blood from his face, he would be the perfect impersonation of a tomato right now. In the 1B table, the guys looked at each other, and Oase decided to voice the question they all had in mind. So, are they official now? It is irrelevant by this point, Kiwaro said, quickly going back to mind his business. Meanwhile, another person tried to will herself out of existence. Tsunotori really didn't know what came over her. She had no idea why, but something about this situation left her unsettled. Something about Nejire-senpai asking Midoriya out bothered her, and she wasn't entirely sure it was because of Kendo. What did Komori say before when they were talking? Ah yes, was it okay to be close to a person, even if they had someone else already in their lives? Well, what are best friends besides exactly this? So what, did she want to become Midoriya's best friend? It wouldn't be bad, but... Alright, that's it for today. Before you go, I'll remind you again of the next hero work study. The papers for the agencies must be submitted until the weekend for approval, Aizawa-sensei clarified in his usual tired manner before leaving the classroom and his students. As soon as the scruffy man left the scene, said students turned around and started to chat about their plans again. Some discussed what agencies they pretended to go and what pro-heroes they would work with. Also, Bakugo and Todoroki appeared on TV recently as they stopped a group of villains right after getting their provisional licenses. As expected, the explosive teen left a pretty strong impression. With the cold of winter came the animosity of the holidays. Sure, their winter break wouldn't exactly be the time to slack off, but at least they had the Christmas party to breathe a little between constant hero training and the always elusive tests from their homeroom teacher. Each one can bring something to eat and we can exchange gifts. What do you think, Midoriya? Midoriya? Bro? Kirishima nudged the green-haired teen sitting next to him as Midoriya seemed to space out. What? Oh, sorry, what was that? He asked, looking around. Kirishima quirked one eyebrow before resting one hand on his shoulder, offering a sympathetic smile. I think you are the one who needs it the most, right? I'm fine, ah ha ha, about the gifts, that's a nice idea. The chat resumed, but Midoriya still tuned out a bit. It wasn't as if he didn't have any interest in helping, but this was an opportunity for him to balance things out. So what could he do to maximize the time he spent with each of his girls? That talk with Uraraka was still pretty fresh in his memory, and considering the recent event with Hado Senpai, he was in for a wild ride if he didn't handle the situation with care. He would need a good and well-thought plan, as the work study would pretty much prevent him from seeing the girls for some time, and that meant two things: longing and pent-up frustration. Yeah, imagine how sad these poor ladies will feel not having their precious Deku around.
Sadness is not the only emotion going on, but yes, you're on the right track, Nana-san.
Well, you could always leave a goodbye gift. Oh, that sounds nice, but what could I get to them? Actually, finding something unique to each girl would be a little time-consuming. Oh, and who said it has to be this kind of gift? Why I don't like where you're going with this. How about this, a goodbye time? I bet they would love it. It feels a bit counterproductive when the goal is making them not miss me so much. That's what you get for building this beautiful harem, Izuku. It's not like I did that on purpose, you know. Aw, ain't you the cutest thing? No wonder they love you so much. Speaking of which, I didn't comment on that at the time, but boy, your senpai is a bold girl. I like her. Sigh, I wish Hado Senpai wouldn't be so upfront about everything. Then again, it wouldn't be senpai at all. Have you considered making another fine addition to your collection? Not really. We both know this is a lie, Izuku. Before he could mentally reply, Midoriya got dragged back to reality again. This time Todoroki was the one waving a hand in front of him. Oh yes, Todoroki-kun. The half-cold, half-hot teen looked at him with his neutral expression for a moment before repeating himself. About the gift exchange, Midoriya. Yes? Todoroki made a pause and stared deep inside his eyes before continuing, leaving Midoriya a little nervous. Did he miss something? Should we include her too? Todoroki asked cautiously. It took the green teen a while to understand who he was talking about. Of course, Himiko. Before he knew it, Midoriya's eyes wandered to the general direction of the crazy blondie's desk at the back of the class. Lo and behold, there she was, sitting in her corner completely isolated, looking through the window with her chin resting in one hand. Himiko seemed completely absorbed in her own world, or perhaps she was more aware than anyone in the class, because after a moment focusing on her figure, her eyes moved and her head turned slightly, glancing back at Midoriya. He looked away, turning back to his friends, who also looked at him with concern in their faces. Even Todoroki, the king of blank faces, looked worried about him. Honestly, I don't know if that's a good idea, but... Midoriya hesitated, as the uncertainty about that insane person kept boiling deep inside himself. Maybe we should try to include everyone, he said nervously, scratching the back of his head. The stares kept focused on him, making him even more anxious. I mean, even if it is her, everyone feels a little lonely something, don't you think? He didn't know what he wanted to accomplish by doing that. It wasn't like a party and a gift would make Himiko a better person or erase all her wrongdoings. Still, he wondered if there was at least a tiny piece of a normal person buried somewhere inside this supposedly former villain. Regardless of the success, his friends seemed willing to make an effort. Todoroki nodded with a short, "I see," while the rest of the group agreed in a more energetic manner. "That's very manly, bro," Kirishima said, encouraging Midoriya with a toothy grin. "There might be light even in the darkest of the nights," Takoyami added quietly. "It is very nice of you, Midoriya-chan," Hagakure said, sitting next to him and lightly hugging his arm. The group of teens kept discussing more details about the party, but if they paid a little more attention to their surroundings, they would notice the occasional glance towards Midoriya. Himiko returned to look at the sky through the window, and a smile slowly formed in her lips. Late at night, Midoriya was ready to leave his room when he received a message. Leaping from the balcony, he looked it up as he moved through the dark campus. He stopped in his tracks once he saw who sent it. Nimiri wanted to see him, like right now. Weird, okay, I got time. And so he changed his goal to their secret love nest. Oh, are you going to leave the short blondie waiting for you all night? What? No, of course not. But Nimiri called you in the middle of the night. You know what that means. She said she wanted to discuss something. Plus, she would definitely tease me if she had anything planned. You're awfully relaxed for someone at your position, Izuku. It doesn't have to end in sec every time. I'm with a woman, Nana-san, and Nimiri wouldn't mind if we skipped one night, right? If you say so. In no time he was inside the building, walking quietly down the hallway. The door slid open, and the first thing he saw was the woman sitting on the large white couch in the side of the room. Nimiri's head perked up as she heard the faint sound and instantly smiled as she spotted Midoriya coming inside. There you are, my love. Did I wake you up? Actually, I was about to go to sleep. Not the truth, but in his defense, he actually had some extra homework to do today. I feel the need to ask, do any of your ladies know about your little escapades with Little Miss America? Yeah, thought so. So, you had something to discuss with me? He asked, sitting next to her on the couch and crossing his legs. Yes, I have a proposal for you, Izuku. Ooh, she wants to make it official. What? What do you mean by marriage? PFFFT. Everything all right, honey? She asked, a little concerned about the sudden reaction. Why, yeah, everything is fine. Can you at least stop laughing, Nana-san? Midoriya tried to ignore the laughs echoing in his mind while maintaining a neutral face. And what proposal would it be? Well, it's a little sudden, but... Nimiri started, having a kinda serious tone in her voice. She seemed to be pondering about something, which actually made Midoriya a bit anxious. Hold up, really? Ooh, here it comes, Izuku. She's about to get down in one knee. Nimiri wouldn't do that, not now. Would she? I mean, kneeling down could be for something else, if you get me. Please don't do this. I can almost feel you winking at me. Sigh, I won't hurt to give you the option. Here, Nimiri broke him out of his thoughts with Nana, handing the young man a small letter. It was short and straight to the point. I'm being invited to Rukyu's agency. Yes, Ruko sent me this after confirming that her agency would accept students for the hero work study. It's not exactly a formal invitation, but I thought it wouldn't hurt asking you. Oh, I see. Midoriya read the small letter a second time. Rukyu asked Nimiri if he would be willing to work at her agency during the winter break. It wasn't unheard of students receiving invitations from pro heroes due to their performances at events like the sports festival, and she was involved in the operation to take down the Shy Hasakai. Still, her asking specifically for him and having Nimiri to personally make the proposal, it made him a little curious. I suppose you would like to work at Night Eye Agency again since you are familiar with them. Yeah, I made a call for Sentipter-san when Aizawa-sensei told us about the work studies, but he said they were busy with a lot of organization and work. Gran Torino is also busy with other matters, so for now, I still don't have a place to go. I'm not telling you should go just because Ruko asked, but her agency is a good place. It's not exactly your style, but I'm sure she has a few things to teach you. Midoriya nodded silently. They remained silent for a moment before he turned to her again, deciding to ask what was in his mind. Do you know why she asked specifically for me, Nimiri? Nimiri crossed her arms, trying to formulate an answer. Not really, she didn't mention it, and I didn't ask either. Ochako and Tsuyu also worked with her before, right? Maybe they mentioned you or something. Midoriya looked at the offer again. The 10th best hero in Japan had personally asked him to work at her agency, and he currently had no other options, so what reasons he had to decline. I will accept it then. Really? Nice, don't forget to submit the forms. I'll let her know you said yes. Working with Rukyu, huh? In a way, that's pretty cool. She is in the top 10 after all. Tokoyami returned a lot stronger after his time with Hawks, and I wonder if Todoroki would go to Endeavor's agency. That's cool and all, but did she have to tell you this right now? Nana's question actually made Midoriya wonder too. But Nimiri, couldn't you have told me this afternoon or... As he turned to look at her, Nimiri had removed her pants and was halfway from taking off her blouse. She casually tossed her clothes back one by one, quirking one eyebrow when she noticed his surprised look. What? Did you really think I called you here just for that? Now only in her purple underwear, Nimiri slowly crawled towards the teen, getting on top of him. Well, you see, I was hoping to get some sleep tonight. You know, tests and all. Aw, just one night won't hurt, right? Plus, it has been so long since we had some fun, just the two of us. I miss my favorite boy, she said, caressing his cheeks and licking her lips seductively. Meanwhile, Midoriya tried to move from under her, until his backs met the end of the couch. I know we haven't spent a lot of time together, just us, but I'll make it up to you, I promise. Oh, I know you will, but I'm getting this in advance anyways. Before he could come up with another argument, his phone vibrated quickie. As he reached to pick it up, Nimiri snatched the device from his hands, despite his protest. Isn't Tsunotori that blonde girl from Class 1B, the one with horns? Yes, he answered nervously. Why don't you explain to me what does she mean by, hey, you coming tonight? Nimiri asked, turning the screen to him. You see, that is, it's not what it looks like. Sigh, that is the worst phrase to say in that kind of situation, Izuku. She's right, you know. A little help would be welcome, Nana-san. Sorry, you're alone on that one, kid. Go on. Answer her, Nimiri said, handing the phone to him. He hesitantly reached for it, and Nimiri pulled it back one time, giving him a stare before putting it on his hand. He quickly typed something, and she immediately demanded to see it. Hey, sorry, I can't go this time. Shortly after came a reply. Oh, really? Did something happen? Are you okay?
So, did something happen, Izuku? Are you okay? She asked him, crossing her arms and straddling his waist.
Nimiri, we were just, we're not having sec if that's what you're thinking. Well, that doesn't sound suspicious at all, right? Why don't you tell her that you are going to see the girl in cosplay and read manga, watch some anime together? She would understand, right? Yeah, but I promised Tsunotori I wouldn't tell anyone. Oh, Izuku, you're so precious, yet so dumb sometimes. So, let me get this straight. By planning to sleep tonight, you meant meeting with this girl, and I'll guess that no one else knows about it. When you say it like that, it does sound like a bad call. You don't say? And how many sleep nights you had already, mister? More than one. Nimiri sighed and shook her head slowly, focusing her eyes on him again. Why, yes, right now Midoriya's state was a mix of intimidated and aroused, and he couldn't help but feel himself get hard as her body pressed against his. However, a part of him still worried about Tsunotori and their secret meeting. Can you please keep that between us, Nimiri? Huh? Are you really asking me that now, Izuku? It's really important. I would tell you if I could. I'm not trying to hide anything from you, seriously. She took a minute to consider and then sighed, shaking her head again. All right, I won't tell anyone, but you better be ready, sweetheart. The next weeks will be a wild ride for you. Leave it to Nimiri to threaten him with pleasure. So then Izuku and Nimiri start having their lovely time to have sec. After the scene, Nimiri said, You know I love you, don't you? Looking a little lost between the sudden question and the high from just now, Izuku quirked an eyebrow. Yes, why? I won't keep you on a leash even though I would love to, but I want you to be more aware of the effect you have on the women around you, she said, stroking his cheeks with the back of her hand. I don't do that on purpose. Yes, I know. Which is why I think you're a national treasure. Even if you have the purest of the intentions, at least try not to be so likable. It's a strange thing to say, but I can't find better words to explain. Are you telling me to not be friendly to girls? No, yes, at least keep some distance, okay? And what if I'm already close to someone? Relatively speaking. Nimir sighed, already guessing what that could entail in the future. I guess it can't be helped then. Go ahead and add the shorty from 1B, it would only make sense by this point. It's not like that really, we're just good friends, Nimir. Sure, and I'm the Easter Bunny, she said, rolling her eyes. I'm telling you, Tsunotori doesn't see me in that way. Is that a fact or your conclusion? Oh, speaking of which, I do have a bunny suit. Wait, really? He asked as she sat upon his lap. Yeah, I got it for a Halloween party and never used it since. I wonder if it still fits. Want to see me in it? Nimir asked seductively. So they started again until Izuku climaxed. Oh God, I can't have enough of you, said the woman, cupping his cheeks with both hands. And after a minute to get the feeling of her body back, Nimir got up, bringing Izuku along in her arms. Nimir? I told you I wouldn't get tired so easily. Now hold tight, we never did it with me standing up before. You have a lot of ideas, don't you? His answer was Nimir's sadistic smile widening as she licked her lips. Yes, Nimir scared him sometimes, but that was part of why he loved her too. Tsunotori looked almost perfectly from 1 in 1 minute between the glass door of her balcony and the clock near her bed. Soon enough Midoriya would come up, and they would watch some anime together this night. Oh, and she had another cosplay prepared for him. Funny how she looked forward to someone jumping on her balcony late at night. Normally your friends enter your room through the door, right? Friends, huh? Yeah, this had a nice ring to it, at least in her mind. Tsunotori didn't feel confident enough to reveal her passion for anime and cosplay to all her friends yet. For now, it was a secret between her and Midoriya. I kinda like that too, she thought while looking at the clock yet again. They agreed that around midnight was a good time to meet, this way they wouldn't lose too much sleep. The blondie felt a little drop of guilty since Midoriya was practically doing all the effort alone, but he told her it was okay, so it was okay to her. Some people say that when you're waiting for something, time seems to drag itself as slow as possible, and the short girl was starting to think this claim had some veracity to it. 5 minutes past midnight. This wasn't an official thing, and all but Midoriya looked like a punctual person. Nah, don't overthink it. 5 more minutes and Tsunotori picked a random manga to keep herself busy. It didn't matter what volume it was, he might arrive just now. Any time now, haha. 10 minutes past midnight and 2 chapters later, she looked at the clock again. He wouldn't skip their night without saying something, right? Our night, maybe he forgot about it. But then she shook her head. Midoriya wouldn't forget about it. And even if he was, say, a little too tired to come, he would tell her. Did something? No, it's fine. Midoriya will come. Before I know, he'll climb up the balcony. However, the last 5 minutes betrayed her certainty. Oh no, did something happen to him? Tsunotori put the manga down and reached for her phone, went to his contact, and sent a message. Hey, you coming tonight? She put the phone down, but her hoof hitting the floor repeatedly made it obvious how she really felt. She hesitated a few times, glancing over the device that didn't seem to give her any responses. At last, the damn thing vibrated, and she quickly picked it up, reading the response from the green teen. Hey, sorry, I can't go this time. Well, that was unfortunate. But why? He told her before he wouldn't miss it, and Midoriya seemed to look forward to this. He even told her he would watch some by himself, so why? Calm down, Pony, Midoriya-san must have a reason. Sure, why wouldn't he, right? Oh, really? Did something happen? Are you okay? She typed back, hoping to not sound as worried as she felt right now. She put it on her lap and waited, looking at the walls, at the ceiling, and back to the screen. He received it and read it, but he didn't answer back yet. The The waiting created suspense and weight in her chest that wasn't really fond of. Should Tsunotori send another message, or would that be too annoying? The 30 minutes past midnight mark in the clock prompted her to act without thinking much, actually calling Midoriya. She let out a small squeal of surprise before covering her mouth. What now? Should she wait for him to answer or end it right now? Before she could decide, he picked it up. Hello? Midoriya-san? Sorry to call you like this. I don't know, is everything all right? You didn't reply. What am I even saying? Isn't that borderline desperation? Yes. His voice seemed to crack a bit. No, wait, it sounded like something else. Like he was doing a particular activity that one would usually do alone. But this is Midoriya we're talking about. He wouldn't. Or maybe he would. Tsunotori didn't know him that well, yet the energy she got from the guy was that of an innocent cinnamon roll, too good for this world. The seed of doubt was planted, however, so again she spoke before thinking thoroughly. Was that? I'm fine. I'm totally, completely fine. He seemed to hold something back, and a little out of breath too. Was he working out in the middle of the night? Regardless, it was clear that Midoriya would not come tonight. As disappointing it was, she still didn't feel completely bad about it. Okay then. Anyway, what about tomorrow? Tomorrow? Yeah, do you think we can? Tsunotori hoped that whatever he had to do wouldn't get in the way of their night, but before she could finish her sentence he cut her. Tomorrow will be difficult. Okay, that's also kinda sad to hear. Oh, so, next week maybe? Next week? Ayafu's sorry, that won't do either. The short blondie didn't say it out loud, but right now she felt really down. She didn't expect Midoriya to miss this, either having to wait for so long before meeting again. It was like finishing a good anime and seeing there was no second season, but worse in its own way. I suppose you're busy then. Not that it is your fault, I kinda wanted to watch something with you. But we can do that whenever you're free. Let's be positive, Midoriya did say he wanted to watch with me. I just have to wait. Yeah, just wait. Yes, Sue, sure. I'll be a little busy for the next week. 2 weeks, maybe 3. I'll tell you when, I promise. Oh, all right. We could at least meet for that cosplay I got here. Yes, sure. Look, I need to go now. See ya later. Good night, Tsunotori-san. And so he ended then call. Tsunotori stood still, the phone still near her ear, her face filled with confusion. Did he dismiss her, or she was overthinking again? What happened? Did I do something wrong? He doesn't want to watch anymore. She looked down at her carpet, trying to make sense of what just happened. Maybe I was the one hyped and I ended dragging him. But he seemed so happy about it last night. That night, Tsunotori took about 3 hours to fall asleep, roughly the same time as Midoriya, but for completely unrelated reasons. The next morning, the short blondie simply moved along, detached from the world surrounding her. She didn't mind the slightly burnt pancakes, nor noticed when Tetsu almost knocked her to the floor. She could barely focus on the class, even getting a short lecture from Kan-sensei. Between the classes, Kendo came to her to see if everything was all right, and for Tsunotori it only made her more anxious. Did it have something to do with Kendo? Tsunotori? Oi, Tsunotori-chan? The orange-haired girl waved a hand in front of the horned girl, startling her and getting her attention. Hi, what is it, Kendo-chan? I asked if you're all right. You seem off since morning, she asked again with a concerned face.
Yeah, Pony-chan, you barely ate at breakfast. Komori turned around to join the talk, since she also noticed the blondie's odd behavior.
It's nothing, I'm fine. You also looked a little lost during class. Isn't there anything troubling you? Shiozaki sided with Kendo, clasping her hands in worry for the short girl. Tsunotori felt tempted to tell them, but she quickly noticed how slowly she became the center of attention of the class. Suddenly, exposing her ordeal felt much more embarrassing. What would they think of her? More important, would Kendo be mad because Tsunotori was seeing her boyfriend in secret? She brushed the thought whenever it crossed her mind, but it did sound like she and Midoriya had an affair. Once again, she pushed the thought away, shaking her head. Putting up the best smile she could, Tsunotori tranquilized her friends. I'm fine, I just feel a little tired, that's all. I see. Well, try not to ever exert yourself, okay? Kendo replied, offering a warm smile and a pat on the blondie's shoulder. Once they left, Tsunotori breathed out in relief, but deep inside she couldn't be more worried. She replayed every single interaction she had with Midoriya so far in the best way her memory allowed her. There was nothing, apparently, that could be a sign of him not looking forward to that night. She didn't do anything to push him away, or so she believed. Despite telling herself to not overthink, the blondie couldn't keep her mind away from this problem for long. Why did this make her feel so sad? As in, more than simply not being able to show her cosplay and watching anime with someone. Midoriya was a nice person. She liked his presence, and they became friends so fast she barely had time to process. And they shared a secret that had to be of some value, right? So why did he have to ditch her like that? Oh, did he ditch me? She questioned herself. Maybe this was purely her way of seeing things. Maybe this wasn't as important to him as it was to her. And honestly, she wouldn't blame him. Still, Tsunotori felt a little sting inside her chest. Now, sitting at the lunch table, poking her food idly with a fork, her eyes wandered to that table full of girls surrounding a single green-haired boy. Fixing on Midoriya, her vision tunneled, and the world around her drowned in white noise. They had something special, right? She told him her story, and he decided to help her open up. He was the one pushing her to show her friends what she really liked. Why bother and go all this way, just to retreat like that? Tsunotori wasn't sure if she felt angry, sad, disappointed, or whatever. It made her feel terrible in the end, and she wanted to sort this out as soon as possible. If she could walk up to Midoriya and ask him right away, just like Hado-senpai did the other day. If only she had half of her courage. Or perhaps she had. Tsunotori quickly got up and left the cafeteria, drawing little more than a few glances from her classmates at the table. Once she a little away in the hallway, she picked her phone and started to text a message. Be assertive, pony. Midoriya-sen, I want to meet you. No, meet me right now. No, I want to tell you something. Down the hallway, I'm waiting. And sent, she sighed and let herself slide down against the wall, trying to imagine how this would play out. She wanted to know exactly why he couldn't make it to their night, and if he really wanted to do it with her. But wouldn't it be too straightforward? What if her thoughts from earlier were right, and he simply didn't care as much as she did? Then Tsunotori would end being really rude to him. But he agreed to watch with me, and he said he definitely would see my costumes. If that wasn't a commitment, she didn't know what was. Wait, am I skipping a step here? Going on with her musings, Tsunotori didn't notice the person next to her. Tsunotori-san? She jumped a bit once her name was called, looking to the side and finding none other than Midoriya. She didn't fully expect him to come, so she got a little surprised. Getting up, the blondie tried her best to formulate a good route to address the matter, but none seemed smooth enough, so she decided to simply go for the topic. My Midoriya-san. Yes? Why? She averted her eyes from him, feeling the regret of calling him here. However, the sting in her chest was an even worse feeling, so she took a breath in and spilled out what she wanted to ask. Why didn't you come yesterday? On the other end, Midoriya barely flinched. He kind of expected that to happen. After all, Tsunotori was clearly passionate about her hobbies. She didn't have anyone else to share it, and the only person that ever supported her was across the ocean. After knowing her better, Midoriya felt this urge grow inside him, an instinctive desire to protect her, and yet, here he was, causing more harm. From one side, he wanted to tell her everything and move on if possible. On the other side, what Kayama told him wasn't far from the truth, and he didn't want to give Tsunotori the wrong ideas. Well, I was kinda busy and... No, I want to know what it was. It might not be important to you, but to me. That's not it, Tsunotori-san. I really wanted to go, but I couldn't. She looked up at him with an upset face. However, she was more on the cute side of the spectrum than on the angry side. But you said before you wouldn't miss it. You said you wanted to see my outfit. Was that a lie? I wasn't lying, I just couldn't go yesterday, I swear. Why though? And why can't we see each other for so long? You see, he wanted to tell her, but that might be a big shock for her. The smallest possibility of Tsunotori seeing him as a shameless pervert and a lesser human being made Midoriya retreat from that route. It's kinda complicated. Tsunotori looked like she would say something but changed her mind in the middle. She crossed her arms and turned to the side, still pouting in a cute manner. Does it have to do with Kendo? She asked carefully. A little, I guess. What do you mean a little? Did she find out and... No, I'm mostly sure she doesn't know. It's just that. I was thinking that I don't spend a lot of time with her. Oh, yeah, that's true. You two are in different classes. And we spent a lot of time together lately, so, I don't know. I felt that leaving Kendo out like this was a little wrong. No, Midoriya didn't mean a single word he had spoken, which only made his heart clench inside his chest. I see. It would be only natural that you spend more time with your G-girlfriend, right? Despite him not saying it like that, Midoriya ended reinforcing her idea of their special nights being something akin to an affair, which didn't sit well with the blondie. She would never betray her friend like this. So, maybe we should, Harem, keep some distance from each other from now on. What? Just for a while, give each other some space. I'll try to think of something to do with Kendo, and maybe if you tell everyone that you like to cosplay and all, by this time we could do something together. But I don't want to give any wrong ideas. I like to see you in cosplay and spend time with you. Let's just give it some time, Tsunotori-san. He bowed to nearly 90 degrees to make Ida proud, leaving little space for Tsunotori to answer properly. This talk didn't end exactly where she wanted it to go. Feeling overwhelmed by the situation, she ended going with the flow. All right, I mean sure. I'd hate to be in the way of you and Kendo, ah. She lacked words right now to describe how much it hurt her to say this. Not that she wanted to steal Midoriya from her dear classmate, but she still wanted to have a special someone. She had a special bond with Midoriya, or at least it felt kinda special to her. When did she start to see it in that way? What? No, you're not in the way, ooh. I have to sort out a few things, but we'll be reading manga together before you can say plus ultra, ah, he said, laughing nervously. After an extremely uncomfortable and silent minute, Midoriya excused himself and left. Tsunotori watched him quietly walk along the hallway. Plus ultra. He didn't want to leave things on such a bitter note between him and Tsunotori, but it was for the best. It had to be. Are you sure this is the right answer, kid? And what should I say, Nana-san? Sorry, I was busy yesterday with our art history teacher. Well, it does sound like a bad approach when you put it like that. What I'm trying to say is that you should be honest with the girl about the harem thing. But she'll hate me. I don't want to even think about her hating me. You say that, and yet here you are with an ever-growing harem full of girls that love you. That's different. How so? I don't know, I just have this feeling. When I heard about what she went through I never wanted so much to punch someone in the face. Okay, I can understand the desire to protect that precious thing, but what are you trying to protect her from? Yourself? What Nimir said is not far from wrong. Basically every girl I've met so far ended being into my harem, and the fact I'm admitting I have one does put me on the edge. I don't regret it, but I kinda don't want Tsunotori to get caught in this. Are you scared of tainting her purity or something? Izuku, let me tell you something. In case you didn't notice already, girls get horny too. We want to have sex as much as any healthy male, and knowing your track record, there would hardly be a better candidate to graduate her. It can't be that simple. Not every girl around me is automatically attracted to me. Last time I checked, the technical terminology is chick magnet, and you definitely fit the description. Midoriya sat on the couch, sighing and leaning his chin on his crossed fingers. Living like this is more stressful than it looks like. If I can easily make someone feel like that towards me, I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but I can't say, "Welcome to the club," every time either. That's your opinion. Sai, what do I do, Nana-san? The hero course definitely doesn't prepare you for this. Do you want my personal, honest opinion? Sure. You're worrying too much about it. To me, it is clear you two are compatible, so there shouldn't be any stress at all. You know what? Go back there and kiss her. What? Yeah, if she was a bad person, or if she was only after a quick FCK, I'd tell you to ditch her right away. But Tsunotori is a good girl, and she cares about you enough to go and ask why didn't you pay her the nightly visit. Because that's something important to her, and I missed it. Aren't friends allowed to do things they like together, even if during the night? Yes, they are, but I want you to argue about the tension between both of you last time you came to her room. To that, Midoriya fell silent, listening to Nana's laugh echo inside his mind while he tried to come up with a good answer. Focused on the internal talk, he didn't notice a person approaching him from behind and wrapping him into a hug. Wah, what the who? Why the long face, Izuku? Himiko? He turned his head to find her face pretty close to his, her yellow cat-like eyes staring deeply at his emerald green ones. What the hell are you doing? Oh, I just saw you here looking pretty down, so I decided to cheer you up. Ah yes, the literal face of my torment trying to cheer me up. I love it when you vilify me. What's wrong with you? He said, pushing her away with one hand. What's not wrong? Come on, I know you love my crazy side. In your dreams, you delusional woman. I'm the best at my worst anyway. I have something to ask you, Izuku, she said, finally letting go of Midoriya. What now? He said, straightening his shirt. She looked around to be sure no one was in hearing range. Of course, she already knew it, as her assassin instincts were still pretty sharp, but it was all part of her act. Himiko then leaned forward, whispering like a normal girl gossiping. Put me in your harem, Izuku. What? Put me in your... she said a little louder. I heard the first time. He covered her mouth, much to his displeasure because she held his hand in place and started to lick his fingers. Being caught off guard, Midoriya stood with a surprised face for a moment as Himiko put on her seductive look, sucking one of his fingers in the most erotic way possible. Needless to say, she was also implying in doing the same activity with another part of his body. Midoriya finally pushed his hand away, shaking and rubbing his hand on his shorts. Meanwhile, Himiko laughed lightly at his reaction, but mostly at the faint blush crossing his cheeks. She even bet that daring to check closely, Himiko would find a hard object in his shorts. Come on, Izuku, let me join already. I'm not half bad, and you know exactly how fast I learn, right? Himiko leaned over the couch, slowly crawling on it and towards Midoriya, who moved away at the same speed. I have been a very bad girl. Izuku, won't you teach me how to behave? That woman. Despite not having very alluring features, she was using a particularly large shirt that gave Midoriya a good view of her chest area, and a little further down if he looked further. Hell will freeze before I let you into my life, Himiko. I'll get the winter clothes for my inner demons then. I'm not going anywhere away from you, Izuku. She stood on all fours on the couch, cornering Midoriya at the end of it, but she didn't pounce him or anything. Himiko simply tilted her head a bit, like a cat staring at its owner. Midoriya, still on the edge, kept staring at her face until his eyes traveled down, focusing on her unsecured chest area. Apparently, Himiko preferred to be more free when hanging in the dorms. My eyes are up here, Izuku, but if it is you, I don't mind. That's ridiculous, he said, looking away quickly, then focusing on her face again. That won't happen, Himiko. Never. Never is a long time, Izuku. But you're the type of guy that is worth the waiting later. She waved a hand and leaped over the couch, heading upstairs, probably to her room. Meanwhile, Midoriya looked at the spot he last saw her with a confused face. Did she just compliment you like a normal person? Yes. She also tasted your fingers like it was the best threat in the world. Thanks, I totally wanted to be more aware of this fact. You love me and you know it. The lengths I will cross for you. Tossing around in her bed, the short blondie with horns groaned in her sleep, rather the poor attempt at it. This feeling lodged in her chest would not go away and prevented her from resting, even though she felt physically drained from today's training. With the winter break near, the teachers from the first year decided to make another joint training, this time in the form of a fighting tournament. If they were going to the streets for some possible real action, their combat skills had to be at top shape. Sure, some students simply had an advantage based on their quirks, but Aizawa-sensei would not take any excuses. 3 runs with totally different matchups, and by the end of it, everyone was pretty much exhausted. But not even that was enough to make Tsunotori sleep. Her eyes slowly opened as her hand grasped her pillow. Looking at the clock, 12:30 a.m. By now, they would be reading or watching something. She would comment on why she thought that particular mangonime was so cool to her, and he would listen closely without missing a word. A part of her was shocked that she got so bound with Midoriya so quickly. Then again, never before someone showed so much interest in her likes. Part of it was her own fault, but she hardly felt secure enough to share her hobbies with her classmates. With him, however, Tsunotori felt that she could open up without fear of being judged or looked down upon. And now, for whatever reason, they couldn't be together. The blondie knew he wasn't obligated to come late at night and spend time with her, but he did say he would come. Tsunotori was divided between feeling betrayed and guilty. Or did she just felt lonely like before? Well, not exactly like before, as now she knew what was missing: his company, his presence. Sitting up in her bed, Tsunotori rubbed her tired eyes, sighing in annoyance and reaching under her bed for one of her many boxes full of manga. She didn't put a single extra shelf beyond the ones Midoriya helped her with. Opening it and lightening with her phone, she looked for something to read and at least pass the time. Hopefully, she would fall asleep sometime. But nothing seemed to do in that box, so she got up and dragged out a few more, murmuring in frustration as none of her titles felt particularly interesting. Roughing and looking at her closet, she considered another option she didn't touch since she came to the Alliance Heights. Whatever. On board anyway, the small horned girl said, moving the boxes back under her bed and getting to her closet, where she reached deep for another box, similar to the one she kept some of her cosplay things in. She hesitated a little, but gave up and picked one book at random. The dark would conceal everything as always, and everyone else was probably asleep. "Nameche-man, I'm totally beat," Kendo said, stretching her arms up to loosen some stiff muscles from yesterday's intense exercise. She walked down the stairs towards the kitchen along with the lizard girl. "Yeah, me too. I gotta say that Shinso guy sure knows how to fight for someone from the general department," Takage replied to her friend, also feeling her body a little sore. "He's been training a lot in order to change for the hero course. He even adopted Eraserhead's fighting style. Yet no use to my quirk when all parts are tied together, and you had to fight Toga." Kendo cringed at the mention, scratching her cheek in an awkward way. "As much as I hate to admit, the girl knows some moves. Heck, I didn't expect her to have me in an arm lock 2 times. That girl is dangerous, and Izuku has to put up with this every day." "Sai, there isn't much we can do about it, unfortunately." The orange-haired girl looked at the floor, a hint of worry in her face. But then they got greeted by a beam of light, with vines for hair. "Oh, good morning, Kendo-san, Takage-san. The weather is great today, isn't it?" Shiozaki took great care of her hair, as it was pretty much a living plant. During the cold winter days, her hair would dry a little and become stiff and with a darker color. Today was a sunny day, though, so she was looking forward to bathing into the sunlight and make her vines viridescent and flexible again. "Oh ho, look at who just woke up in a good mood," Takage joked with her fellow green-haired friend, looking in the fridge what she would eat. "Certainly it is a blessing from the heavens to have such a bright morning during the winter," she said happily, passing Kendo a mug of coffee she just made. Good morning, girls, the trio turned and greeted the short brunette who just joined them. Komori walked in with a spring in her feet, humming an unknown melody and joining them at whatever they were eating. Soon after, Yanagi and Kodai came down and sat along at the table. The first day of their winter break already started well. The work studies would start after the holidays, so they had about a week to relax a little. Apparently, the principal would allow them to return home for New Year, which was a huge bonus. They chit-chatted about yesterday's mini-tournament, how Kirishima and Tetsutetsu matched up against each other again, how Monoma got simply destroyed by Bakugo and Shoji, how Uraraka effortlessly tossed Kamakiri around, and of course, how absolutely stunning Izuku was, flexing his sculpted muscles to match Shishida's strength and size. They sighed dreamily, except for Takich. She was more on the horny side of the spectrum. But then, a sounding thud brought them back to reality. Looking at the doorway, Tsunotori rubbed her forehead and mumbled something in English. She didn't have the best face right now, and judging by the faint marks under her eyes, she didn't get much quality sleep this night. She walked into the kitchen, barely acknowledging the presence of her classmates, even though the girls followed her moves around, feeling around to pick flour and butter from a cabinet. The blondie kept grumbling under her breath as she opened the fridge to retrieve eggs and milk. So she was on her routine of pancakes, it seemed. With half-closed eyes and yawning now and then, Tsunotori prepared the dough and was ready to pour it on the frying pan if she had remembered putting it in the oven. At that moment, the girls shot up from their seats to prevent this disaster, turning off the fire and taking the dough from the drowsy, confused girl. "Wah, morning girls, you want some yawn pancakes?" She didn't notice her English slipping. Good thing 1B agreed on doubling down their efforts to learn the language so they could communicate better with her. "Here, just sit and let me handle this for you," Kendo said, almost like a mother, as she helped Tsunotori sit on a chair. "Allow me," Shiozaki went ahead and prepared the pancakes while the orange-haired girl looked after the short blondie. A bad night of sleep?" she asked Tsunotori, who blinked a few times before answering. "Who even needs yawn sleep?" These were her words, but she was having a hard time keeping her head up and her eyes open. Feeling a little concerned, the girls sat on the table around her. "Did you have a nightmare?" Yanagi asked. "Are you feeling ill?" Kodai added quietly. "Are you worried about the hero work studies?" Komori said, getting on the edge of her chair. "I think that would be you," Takich commented. The blondie, however, gently shook her head, then did her best to put her best smile. "I'm okay, girls. Just past the night binging." Whether it was her instincts or her brain waking up, Tsunotori prevented herself from finishing that sentence. Reading, it's all." She somehow managed to save it. But then Yanagi, the bookworm, got interested. "Oh, what were you reading?" It had to be interesting to keep Tsunotori awake all night long. I was just scrolling through some posts from my sis back at home. I had a lot to catch up." This was getting out of hand quickly. "I see," the white-haired girl responded, feeling a tiny bit let down. "I don't think cosmic horror is everyone's choice read for the night," Yanagi, Kodai added, resting a hand on her shoulder. At that moment, Shiozaki turned around carrying a plate with a tall pile of pancakes and a bright smile to wake up her horned little friend. She put the plate on the table in front of Tsunotori, who sniffed the sweet scent coming from it. She even got offered a large mug of coffee, courtesy of Komori. "I hope they are at your liking, dear," added the vine girl, taking a seat along with the girls at the table. Tsunotori looked at them with sleepy, lost eyes. Why were they watching her again? Nevertheless, she went for her breakfast. One sip of coffee and a bit of pancake later, she sighed in satisfaction, feeling herself waking up properly. Meanwhile, the girls watched with delight as Tsunotori blossoming into her usual upbeat self. As the girl happily dug into her meal, Kendo called her attention with a rather concerned look. "Tsunotori, you should take care and sleep properly. I know we just started the winter break, but this isn't much healthy." "It's okay, I'm fine. It was just this night anyway," she answered Kendo, hoping to end the discussion there. "Yeah, it's okay. I'm fine." "All right then." So, what should we do? I feel that we have to do something together before getting to the work studies, Kendo said, getting up. Aren't the guys from one planning a Christmas party? We could help out, Shiozaki suggested, but Kendo scratched the back of her head. Yeah, we definitely could, but I was thinking of something just with us. This is a good opportunity for sharing my new work. It is not done yet, but I'm confident that I improved the ominous vibe of my original story, Yanagi said with a confident look. Can we not spend a night reading creepy stories? Last time gave me nightmares for a week, Komori said, not having fond memories of the times Yanagi shared her literary works. Then my job was well done, Umu. Kodai quietly raised her hand, getting the attention of everyone. How about we pay a little visit to Green Valley? You know, just us, she said with the tiniest smile in the corner of her lips. Meanwhile, the girls looked at each other, except for Tsunotori, who didn't get what they meant. Was that a place to visit or something? Again, I wanted to do something that involved all of us. Kendo discreetly pointed to the small blondie halfway through her pancakes. Takage wrapped an arm around her neck, pulling the orange-haired girl closer and whispering. And who said we all can't be together? This has been delayed enough, don't you think? Takage is HHH. Actually, Takage might have a point, the cold raven-haired girl said, also being shushed by Kendo. And you, Tsunotori, any ideas? Kendo asked. Eh? The blondie looked up in surprise as her mind wandered somewhere else. How about we make a movie night? The girls took a minute to think, then suddenly their faces lit up in bright smiles. Yeah, that could totally work, Komori said with enthusiasm. A girls' night with lots of movies sounds splendid, Shiozaki added, clasping her hands together. I have suggestions, Yanagi said, raising a hand. How many of them don't involve horror? Kodai asked the white-haired girl. I have several fewer suggestions. Why not let Tsunotori choose? She came up with the idea, Kendo said, and suddenly everyone turned to her. The blondie swallowed the last bite of pancake, feeling more and more nervous inside. When she said that, she was thinking of watching anime with someone else, and now she had to pick something. It's okay, I can do this. This is fine, I'll think of something. When do you want to do it then? Why not tomorrow? We're already setting everything up. Just don't go fall asleep, Takage said, and everyone agreed. Fortunately for Tsunotori, this gave her at least some time to look for something that wasn't anime-related. Maybe she should call her sis for a suggestion. The group of girls from 1B headed to their neighbors' dorms to see what they were up to. It was mainly to help organize that Christmas party, but soon the girls simply tagged along to chat and whatnot. Ashido, Hagakure, and Takage were on a corner, probably gossiping about something. Kendo and Yayurazu were having a friendly duel of shogi with Uraraka and Komori as spectators. Tsuyu and Shiozaki were discussing the hardships that winter brought upon them, and Jiro was showing some pieces of music from her playlist to Kodai and Yanagi. Feeling a little isolated, Tsunotori looked left and right, hoping to find a particular mop of green hair, but Midoriya was nowhere to be found. That feeling from last night started to crawl into her back again, that sense of something lacking. She knew the girls weren't excluding her on purpose. The other way around, she was mostly sure they would gladly add her to whatever they were doing, but something told the blondie she did not belong in here. The two classes were on better terms now regarding that rivalry, except for Monoma. Everyone was getting along well, and the joint training was pretty fun once you ignored the Spartan part of it. However, Tsunotori watched the girls having a good time, and she couldn't stop thinking that her definition of a good time wouldn't happen so soon. Lost in her thoughts, Tsunotori didn't notice a certain problematic person sneaking up on her and poking her sides in a playful manner. She jumped with a yelp, turning around to find none other than the crazy girl with messy buns. Toga Himiko. Yep, that would be me. Why are you here by yourself, Horny-chan? Do you hate your classmates? Himiko asked nonchalantly, with a grin crossing her lips. Wow, what did you just call me? She said with a faint blush. Did she hear that right? Oh well, that was my cute name for Ashido. But you clearly deserve it more, Himiko answered the shorter blondie, putting her fingers up in her head, mimicking Tsunotori's horns. The small girl sighed. She understood the Japanese, but her mind gave the word another meaning. Looking at Himiko with suspicion, she replied with a small frown. I would prefer that didn't call me that, and don't poke me either. Aw, but is totally fits you plus. I saw you sulking here all alone, so I decided to cheer you up. Himiko took a step forward to perhaps hugging Tsunotori or something, but the small girl backed away. She saw too when this crazy blood-drinking girl not only put Kendo in a tight spot, but actually won a fight, fair and square, above all things. Plus, she still remembered what Midoriya told her about Himiko, so it was one more reason to keep a safe distance, and then some more. By now the other girls already got alerted by Tsunotori's yelp and gathered behind the short blondie, eyes focused on Himiko. Leave her alone, Toga, Uraraka said, stepping forward, to which Himiko responded, going towards the brunette. The two of them stopped in front of each other, Uraraka with her brows furrowed and Himiko with a bright fanged grin. Ooh, scary, I wouldn't make that face, Ochako-chan. You could get stuck with it permanently, and that wouldn't be good for Izuku, right? TCH, just stay away and don't bother. Why don't you go find who wants you? Oh, that really hurt my feelings. After all, we have been through. Uraraka groaned in frustration while Himiko laughed. Just being near this walking problem made her feel mentally tired. Keep doing that, and I'll show you what hurts. The brunette made her threat, inching closer for greater impact. Oh, I would love to see you try, Himiko taunted back, also getting closer. Did the last beating erase your memory, or there's nothing at all in your thinking department? Uraraka moved even closer, hands balling into fists. Please, you call that a beating? I've seen accidents with cats doing worse. Himiko held a smug face that got Uraraka on the edge of popping a vein. I swear, one of these days I'll kick you to the moon, and you know I can, she said, pointing a finger at the grinning blondie. But then Himiko answered in a mild, seductive tone, almost like a whisper. Ochako-chan, if you want to make me see stars, just ask for it. What? Chew. And before Uraraka could react, Himiko planted a quick peck at the tip of her nose. She backed away startled, then got mad again and chased the laughing blonde around while shouting some profanities. The girls watched idly, taking some time before acting. In fact, most of them also wanted to deliver heavenly justice upon the annoying girl, but for now Uraraka would do. And there was Tsunotori, who simply looked at the chase with a lost face. Did that happen all the time around here? This is what Midoriya had to put up with every time. Scratch that, Toga Himiko apparently managed to be a complete annoyance to 1A. The door opened and in came Hatsum, followed by Midoriya himself. Tsunotori didn't even notice how her face lit up just by seeing the green-haired teen, but before she could say something Toga tacked the unaware boy to the floor, landing on the floor with an oof. The pink-haired girl with Crosshair's eyes also got started, looking confused around. Hatsum jumped away when she saw Uraraka coming right after Himiko with a not pleased at all face. Himiko? Gee, get off me, Midoriya demanded, pushing her back by her shoulders. Himiko protested, trying to hug him on the floor. I didn't see you this morning, so og. Get off him, you freak, Uraraka shouted, pulling Himiko up and away from the emerald child. Come on, Ochako-chan, I thought you knew how to share. Like I would share with you. With a mighty pull, the brunette not only freed Midoriya from his current captor, but she also tossed Himiko over her head, almost performing a suplex. Landing with a roll, Himiko sighed and got up, fixing her clothes. Good grief, I thought we were all girl with a point in common here, she said with a smug face, but then her eyes stopped at the small girl with big horns. Oh wait, not everyone, right? She began to laugh, but Uraraka and Hatsum quickly pulled her aside by the arms, rushing to prevent Himiko from opening her big mouth, and Tsunotori had to wonder what she was talking about. What did she mean by that? She turned to Kendo, who yelped in surprise. Oh she's just trying to mess with us. She didn't like to lie to her friends, but there was no other option. For now, at least. Okay then, don't think too much about it, Pony. This girl has many loose bolts in her head. Well, now that the problem was removed, she could go and talk to Midoriya. That is if he hadn't 3 more girls around him already. What? I just turned around, it's fine, just join them. Tsunotori got closer, and apparently Hatsum was telling Shiozaki how was her work on the items she requested, with the help of Midoriya, of course. Komori also mentioned before that she had a few upgrade ideas for her gear, so she was there too. However, one thing was bugging the small blondie. Why are they so close? In fact, Hatsum was almost hugging Midoriya's arm while she talked. Shiozaki and Komori weren't much different either. By now, Tsunotori expected everyone to be aware of his relationship with Kendo, so getting so up close and personal she hated the thought. Was it any different from their nightly meetings? Surely it was. Tsunotori wasn't all clingy with him, she gave him some space. That time he rested on her lap was a one-time thing. Still, they didn't tell anything about this to Kendo, mostly by her request, so technically they were seeing each other behind her back. The blondie looked back at where Kendo was, a thoughtful face present. Was it really okay to do that? Midoriya said he wanted to spend more time with Kendo, as he should do, in her opinion. Tsunotori only wished that didn't mean reducing the amount of time she could be with him. But right now, Kendo didn't seem bothered at all that Midoriya was doing something else, or that someone else was so close to him. Maybe she wasn't the jealous type, but there had to be at least a minimal sense of owning, right? In Kendo's place, Tsunotori would surely make it clear that she was his girlfriend and vice versa. Not because of some silly jealousness, but because that would mean a lot to her. Probably, possibly. Her mind kept running over these thoughts as she turned back to him and the girls talking. How much time has passed? She spaced out completely, but a voice suddenly dragged her back to planet Earth. Tsunotori-san, is everything all right? It had to be him asking, didn't it? Eh? Midoriya held a slightly worried face while looking at her. Hatsum, Komori, and Shiozaki also looked at her with curious eyes. Did something happen? You looked a little off. Was it Himiko? If so, I'll... No, I just zoned out, it's all, she said, waving a hand. You sure? She wanted to say what was in her mind. That it bothered her that the other girls were able to spend time with him without hiding. That Kendo didn't seem to care a lot about her relationship with him. There was an insane girl running around their dorms, and the most important, she still felt a little hurt because he kind of ditched her on their special nights. Actually, the more she replayed this thought in her head, the more she felt that sting inside her chest, once a slight discomfort, now a mild annoyance. I'm fine, really, was her answer. Oh, that's right, I think I might have a support item for you if you feel interested, Hatsum said with an eager face, a little too eager for Tsunotori, as the pink-haired girl invaded some of her personal space. Drop by the development studio whenever you want, I'm mostly sure you'll like it. And what would that item be? The blondie asked with caution. It is a little project I have been working on, but I didn't have someone to use it until now. Your quirk is perfect for this. Hatsum gave a thumbs up and a big grin, which made it a little hard for Tsunotori to deny the offer. Next to the young engineer, Midoriya wrapped one arm over her shoulder and pulled her a little back, speaking in a low tone. Hatsum, you're not planning to use Tsunotori-san as a test dummy, are you? He asked with a suspicious look. Well, when you put it like that. It isn't even finished, is it? It is in the stress test phase, which is really important. But are you sure it won't blow up? I'm mostly sure. Hatsum. I'm joking, silly. Once again, Tsunotori had to watch as someone else interacted, normally with the green-haired team. Later on, the girls from 1B returned to their dorms. By now, everyone was awake, and some of the boys were gathered at the common room, discussing something or playing some video game. Ah, there are you all. Where did you go to? Fukudashi asked, a question mark appearing on his head. We were at 1A. We'll help with that party, Kendo quickly explained. Not very focused on her surroundings, Tsunotori simply sat on the couch in deep thought. There wasn't homework to do, and at times like this, she would binge some mangonime at her bedroom. But right now, she really didn't want to. She wanted to do it with him. Zoning out again, everything around her became white noise until she heard a certain name being mentioned. She perked up her head and glanced over her shoulder. So right now Shishida, Tetsu, Kamakiri, Kirawaro, and Oase were talking about yesterday's exercise. Man, I have to say, fighting against Midoriya feels really unfair, he said, tapping Shishida on the shoulder. As someone without a combat quirk, I am with you on that, Oase added. I'm not saying Monoma is right, but maybe you two are putting 1A in a pedestal too high, Kamakiri said, with arms crossed. Shishida sure gave the guy a run for his money. I'm not saying that. What I mean is that this superpower is really broken. And remember that black thing? The steel teen explained his point, getting some agreeing nods. Well, to be fair, Kendo mentioned once that he was a late bloomer. Guess some persons do have it easier in life, Kiroro said. I don't want to be the sore loser, but it does hurt my pride a little, having to struggle with someone almost half of my size, said the furry, tall teen. Don't feel so bad. Remember when Midoriya blew up that zero-pointer? That was insane, Oase said, nudging his furry friend. Yeah, I can totally see why Kendo likes him. He's manly as hell, Tetsu continued. Except when he cries like a baby, Kamakiri said with a snicker, prompting a similar reaction from the other. Hey, at least Jevoden here doesn't break his own arms to fight, Kirawaro joked, and they laughed lightly. However, a sudden noise of something hitting the floor hard cut them and got their attention. Looking at the source, Tsunotori stood in front of them, arms straight down, hands rolled into fists, and a big frown in her face. However, as much as she wanted to pass and angry, her pout and furrowed brows still looked cute. That's really mean of you guys. Stop saying these things about Midoriya, she demanded, glaring at them with furious blue eyes. As for them, the boys simply raised confused eyebrows. You know we're only joking, right? Kirawaro was the first to answer, being followed by the rest. Still, that's not cool, Kirawaro-kun. You don't know how had he's got. Oh, please elaborate. Ugh, she said before thinking, but Tsunotori wouldn't back off on this. He has to train a lot because he got his quirk much later than everyone. And we all have to work hard here, the black-skinned teen said. I kind of feel bad for him too, but Kirawaro is right, Tsunotori-chan, said Oase. Feeling offended on behalf of the Emerald Child, the small blondie took a step forward, making them move back a little. None of you guys get it, do you? After everything that happened to him, how can you joke about that? He's trying his best, no, he's doing even more than that. And to top things, Midoriya has to live with a psycho that did so many horrible things to him. I won't let you be mean to him like this. Taking a moment to catch her breath, Tsunotori rested her hands on her waist, still glaring at the taller boys. Scratching his head, Shishida replied with a single question. Didn't he decide to keep her around by himself? That's what I heard. Flinching back a little, Tsunotori tried to think of how to explain that, but Tetsu spoke first. Shishida is right, you know. I respect Midoriya, but it was his choice. But why do you care so much anyway? Not even Kendo would make a fuzz out of it like that, Kamakiri questioned the small girl, who tripped over her words. I bet she would. If she heard what you guys said, she said, shying away. Well, probably, but you don't have to be so upset about it, right? Kirawaro pointed out. I don't like seeing people being mean to others, especially you guys, she said, crossing her arms and facing another direction to hide her uneasy look. Guys, is everything all right here? Speaking of the angel, the class rep just appeared, attracted by Tsunotori's higher voice level. Ask her about it, we're good here, Kirawaro said nonchalantly, and Tsunotori wanted to shrink to an invisible size once Kendo's eyes fell upon her.
Tsunotori, do you want to tell me something? She asked with concern. Kendo surely deserved the unofficial title of Mother of 1B, as she always looked after everyone.
The short blondie hesitated. Perhaps if she explained everything, Kendo would understand and let her see Midoriya again. Who knows? The orange-haired girl seemed to be pretty cool about other girls being near Midoriya. Compared to the jealous fest from some time ago, this was more than fine. No, what prevented Tsunotori from being completely honest was the fear of being looked down upon. So far Midoriya was the only one that didn't judge her for her tastes, and deep down she liked this, the feeling of him being the only one that knew her secret. "Can we talk, in particular?" she asked the ginger-head girl, to which Kendo agreed. They went outside, and so Tsunotori tried to think of a good way to go through this. "So, what is bothering you?" the taller girl asked. The blondie took a deep breath in and slowly released. "Kendo-chan, I don't know how to say it nicely, but you have to be more possessive." "Oh, what?" "About Midoriya and your relationship. You should be more possessive about him." Kendo held a curious and amused face. She surely didn't expect Tsunotori to mention that. Then again, it was part of their cover-up, and she was the only one that didn't, you know. "And what makes you think that way?" Kendo asked with genuine curiosity. "Well, you two don't spend much time together. Like, I know we're in different classes, but you two could lunch together or something. We do sit near each other, but on different tables. Hey, we sit next to each other sometimes." Despite Kendo's positive attitude, Tsunotori groaned in mild frustration. "And he's constantly surrounded by girls. Doesn't it make you worry, Kendo-chan?" "Worry about what?" "Oh, I don't know, maybe someone getting frisky with Midoriya," Tsunotori said, as if it was the obvious answer. "Then shouldn't I trust that he'll be honest and say no to any advances?" On the inside, she really pondered over her words, given the peculiar relationship she had with the green teen. Meanwhile, the blondie felt her arguments eroding right before her. "I suppose yes, but perhaps marking your territory would help to avoid unwanted attention. What can I do if he's popular with the girls? That's mainly why I like him anyway." "But—" The words died in her mouth. Maybe Tsunotori didn't think about this as thoroughly as she imagined. Midoriya was a nice guy, a genuinely good person, almost too pure for this world. And so, Kendo had little to no reason to think that he would be unfaithful, even being surrounded by other girls. That only made her feel worse about the nights she spent with him, looking back now. She was forcing him to meet her in secret, even if just a little. He could be the type of person that can't say no, which would be quite fitting for the Emerald Child. However, if that was the case and Kendo didn't have any reason whatsoever to worry about Midoriya, then why was she so hung up on seeing him with other people? Rather, with other girls. Yes, Tsunotori was technically deprived of a personal source of happiness, and she felt sad, but that sting inside her chest felt like something else entirely. "Tsunotori-chan, is there something else you want to tell me?" the ginger-head asked, a hint of concern in her face as the small girl found the floor too interesting. Tsunotori felt an urge to say everything. She didn't like lying to her friends, and now it felt really unfair to the class rep. Just because she said she didn't mind doesn't mean the blondie could do whatever she wanted with Midoriya. The truth is, she breathed in and out to build up some courage. "I kind of had a talk with Midoriya. He told me that he wanted to spend more time with you. So that got me thinking that you two didn't have a lot of time to each other, you know?" Well, that was part of the truth. She couldn't bring herself to spill everything out in one go, not yet. Kendo looked at the shy blondie in front of her and smiled softly, patting Tsunotori's head. "I see, sigh, that's really good." "Huh? What do you mean?" Tsunotori looked up with a confused face, not understanding why Kendo looked so pleased. "Not only I have a wonderful boyfriend, but I also have an awesome friend that will look after me. What else could I ask for?" She patted Tsunotori some more before kneeling down and resting her hands on the small girl's shoulders. "Thanks for taking care of me and my boyfriend, Tsunotori-chan. I really appreciate it. But what if someone else likes Midoriya? Wouldn't it be a problem to be so relaxed, Kendo-chan?" One last try from the blondie, although she felt this battle was lost from the start. "There's nothing I can do about someone else's feelings other than hope they find happiness somehow. Even if Midoriya, if he decided to leave you?" Well, I would definitely be sad. Right? Then? But if he doesn't want to be with me anymore, I can't change that. Perhaps I could try and use my dormant feminine charms, she joked, flaunting and moving her ponytail aside with a hand. In the end, it all depends on what he feels. I'm confident he likes me, though. You're right. That made a lot of sense. Kendo seemed so mature about it. It was like she had been in a lot of relationships already. Perhaps that was why everyone in the class looked up to her as a motherly and caring figure. Tsunotori-chan, if you don't mind me asking, maybe you have a slight crush on someone? What? The blondie almost jumped, caught off guard by such a personal question. Why do you ask? How can I put it? I feel like you put a lot of thought into this, how Midoriya and I are in terms of relationships. I wondered if you felt the same way and wanted to make sure I was doing all right. So, do you have a special someone in mind? No, I don't have anyone like that. I was really worried about you and, maybe. Let's be hypothetical here, a mere thought experiment. If, and I mean if, Tsunotori really had a crush on Midoriya, how would it feel like? The guy was already taken, so her path would have a big barrier right at the start. You want to spend time with the person you like, and doing so makes you happy. There were girls that acted pretty chill about it like Kendo, but others could get really jealous when seeing their beloved ones getting too much attention from the opposite gender. On the other side, Tsunotori felt sad that the girls from Wanna got to hang around Midoriya whenever they wanted, while the blondie had to deal with a narrow time span. It wasn't like she was mad just because they were girls, right? Oh no, that's not it. I can't be that, right? When did I even? The seed of doubt had been planted, watered, and was already sprouting. That realization created a great conflict inside Tsunotori's mind, which was visible in her face. Seeing the troubled girl apparently lost in an inner turmoil, Kendo got up again, one more time fulfilling her role as the mother of 1B. I don't have a lot of experience, so don't take my word for absolute. But if you're in doubt about something, you should confirm it. The blondie broke from her own thoughts and looked up at Kendo. Confirm it? How? Again, this is just a suggestion, but if you are not sure how you feel about someone, you could go there and confront them. Confront them. Yeah, like, if you're honest with yourself and with that person, then you'll know exactly what you feel at that moment. It sounds weird, but it is kinda how things went for me. Kendo said with a small blush adorning her cheeks. A look of understanding gradually took over Tsunotori's features. And, what do I do if I can't be honest with them? It wasn't like Tsunotori could go there and make a confession or something right away. She just discussed with Kendo about other girls orbiting Midoriya. Oh, the irony. I think that more than being honest with them, you'll be honest with yourself. Even if you get a no, you'll know exactly what your feelings are, and so you'll know whether to move on or not. Like I said, it might hurt a lot, but we can't really change how a person feels. And in the end, you can keep on without the fact of not saying it or the weight of the possibilities in your conscience. That's just my thoughts. The horned girl stood in silence for a while, processing what Kendo told her. Incredible. Every single word she said made complete sense. Tsunotori had the habit of overthinking a lot, and she definitely overthought this. Midoriya also said something along these lines, about being honest with her friends and with herself. If they ended looking at her as a weeb, there wasn't much she could do it, as the small girl didn't plan on stopping doing what she liked to do. And about this sting in her chest, maybe it was her being an overly attached friend, and that could be managed and fixed. It could be a silly crush that would pass with time, as she didn't plan to get in Kendo's way. Or perhaps it was something else. Whatever was the result, she could discover by simply facing the situation head-on, like a bull charging the red flag. Feeling like the path had been opened right in front of her eyes, Tsunotori mentally made a note to address these questions that plagued her mind for some time now, as soon as possible. That also got visible in her face, putting a relieved slime in Kendo's lips as the bubbly and cheerful girl seemed to be back. I hope that helped you, Tsunotori-chan. More than you think. Thanks, Kendo-chan. Don't mention it, I'm here to help, she said, getting back inside the dorms. Oh, and good luck with that. The ginger head gave a wink before going inside, prompting a slightly nervous smile and a faint blush to appear in Tsunotori's face. Funny how Kendo unknowingly cheered for a potential rival. Well, that would be one possibility, but honestly, I don't think I stand a chance against her. Looking at the bright sky from the afternoon, Tsunotori sighed. A simple plan, free of layers upon layers of thinking, formed in her head. She would ask Midoriya about it. These feelings, just like what Kendo said. Independent of the outcome, she would move forward, hopefully still being able to spend some time with him to binge manga and watch anime, maybe show a cosplay now and then. After that, she would be totally open about her tastes with her friends. She would not shove it in their faces, as it could be pretty annoying, but if they ever asked, she would be honest. No more need to read manga enclosed in her room. Well, not every manga I read. Yeah, some discretion would be good. The small blondie got inside and spent the rest of the afternoon thinking about what she would say to the green-haired teen when the time came. Not her usual overload thought process, simply what she would say. Also, she texted her older sis, and they discussed some titles for the girls-only movie night. Just as the sun went down, Tsunotori headed to the neighboring dorms, ready to solve this matter. She didn't need an audience, so she quickly sent a text to Midoriya so he would meet her outside. I would be quick, like taking off a curative. Even if she turned out to have a crush on him, and he said no, she wouldn't hold any hard feelings about it. She came to the conclusion that a good part of these problems was on her own fault for complicating what could be simple. Leaning against the bark of a tree in the yard of one of dorms, she patiently waited for the green cinnamon roll to appear. He left her on read, but she felt deep inside he would come. And come he did, walking outside and looking around. She poked her head out and waved at him. He waved back and came closer. Now under the tree and somehow away from curious eyes, she could finally sort these shapeless feelings and move on. Hi there, Tsunotori-san. Hi, thanks for coming, Midoriya-san. No problem, you said you wanted to discuss something? He said with a small hint of hesitation. Considering how the last time they talked went, Midoriya had an idea of what she had in mind. In fact, it never really sat well with him, the sour note in which they parted ways, so to speak.
Yes, and I think you already know what it is. She didn't sound bothered at all, which kinda surprised him.
Yeah, I think last time we talked didn't end well, and that's entirely on my fault. I'm deeply sorry. It's okay, really. I'm fine. You are? Yeah, actually, I'm not. That hurt more than I like to admit, but I'll ignore that anyway. How are you doing with Kendo? Did you manage to spend some quality time with her? About that, I didn't come up with any good ideas yet. There are only a few things we can do that count as couple things around here. Just hang in the common room or something. Knowing her, even sitting together quietly would make her happy. Oh, you think so? Yeah, Kendo is super chill about this relationship thing. She won't require a monumental date plan. Sometimes simple is best, right? Yes, lessons were learned. Midoriya agreed with the small blondie. Now, about this thing I wanted to discuss. Yes. Midoriya-san. She looked up, straight into his eyes, his emerald green, shining, endearing eyes. This was her moment of truth in many ways. I like you. You know, I was thinking that we could maybe watch that anime. Wait, what? He already had a response for Tsunotori asking when they would get to spend some time together again. In fact, he also missed it a lot, as he found it extremely fascinating to see the small blondie sharing her opinions about her hobbies. So it didn't go well when her actual words were different from his prediction. And on that matter, what was that? I like you, Midoriya-san. How she managed to repeat it so clearly, Tsunotori didn't know. She could feel her cheeks heating up already. So that's what Kendo meant by confirming it. Tsunotori somehow was sure this reaction wouldn't come if she didn't feel anything for the boy beside a good friendship. Meanwhile, on the other side, Midoriya panicked internally, and a bit externally too. What do you mean by, I like you, as in a friend, perhaps? Wow, the denial is strong in this one, Nana's voice echoed inside his mind, but Midoriya was too busy not freaking out to reply. I don't think so. I mean, I do like you as a friend. I liked a lot to spend time with you and read manga together and show you my cosplays, but there's something else too. I don't know if it is just a crush, but it is definitely somewhere here, she said, placing a hand on her chest. As for Midoriya, he didn't manage to look directly at her, his eyes jumping from her figure to anything around. Maybe you are. I am? Maybe you are a little equivocated, Tsunotori-san. I don't mean to dismiss your feelings, but, well, I'm dating Kendo, so yeah. He really didn't know what to say here, so he was improvising. The end goal was to somehow talk her out of this idea because Midoriya couldn't imagine the blondie being part of his life in that way because of what it would entail. Of course you can, silly. I already said and will repeat that you two look absolutely cute together. It's not that I can't, Nana-san. I really shouldn't. Do you even listen to yourself? She said she likes you, Izuku. Say you like her too, kiss, bed, new addition to Harem. This shouldn't be too hard for you by now. That's exactly the point. I can't do that unconsciously, Nana-san. What if I mess up? How do you mess up in this? You're such a golden boy. I don't know how to explain. I just feel that if I don't consider this properly, I could make a mistake and end hurting Tsunotori. And don't you think it would hurt her anyway to be rejected? It's not like I didn't imagine that, you know? I want to protect her, but if she discovers about. Sigh, okay, I get your point. Play it safe then, but ask yourself this question, Izuku. Knowing that you're in a relationship with Itsuka, she came all the way to confess. What are you willing to do for her? Midoriya-san, her voice dragged Midoriya back to reality. What? You were awfully quiet for a while. Sorry, I had a lot of things in mind. So, about us, I mean me liking you? She asked again with expectancy in her voice. You see. This answer didn't start as she wanted. I'm afraid I can't say I feel the same way, Tsunotori-san. Why did it hurt so much to say these words? Oh! She was visibly disappointed, which struck Midoriya like a mighty spear across his heart. I'm sorry, but I already have. Kendo-san, I know. I just thought, I don't know what I was thinking, ha. A few hours ago I was all hung up about you and Kendo not spending much time together, and look where I'm now, trying to get between you two. Silly me. What do you mean? Maybe she spoke a little too much, but she didn't plan to go back on her words anymore. I talked with Kendo about you. I didn't mention our secret nights though. I'll do it later on when I'm ready. Until then, we can put our nights on a hold. Kendo, she really trusts you, Midoriya, and you're an awesome person. I didn't have any motives at all to think you would betray her or something. I got mad seeing you with other girls, and that was because I like you, but didn't realize until now. But why tell me this right now? I wasn't sure. Kendo also said I could confirm if I confronted you and these feelings while being honest, so here I am. I don't know, maybe the years of reading slices of life and high school romance gave me some hope. I would hate to take you away from Kendo-san though. He didn't know what to say. One part of him was screaming at himself, begging for the harem route again, as this path held a slight chance of seeing this precious girl happy, and with him, which would be a huge bonus. However, the fear of Tsunotori getting away, disgusted perhaps, because of his many lovers was enough to silence the first voice. You're not talking much today. I guess it is a lot to digest, haha. Anyway, I hope we can at least stay as friends. Is that okay? She said, her voice losing the cheerful tone more and more. Was that okay? Was Midoriya okay with refusing her sincere feelings like this? Would he be able to sleep knowing that at the same time, in her room and in the dark, she would drop tears from this rejection? Didn't he say to himself that he would see her happy and protect her from the world if necessary? Sigh, this is really hard. Now I know why the protags have a lot of trouble to confess. This is really energy consuming. I suppose you know that since you and Kendo, well, at least we can still share our liking for the high form of art that is anime by this point. She was making jokes to prevent herself from breaking apart. What course of action should Midoriya take now? Allow her to be a friend? Bring her into his messed up but wonderful life? Well, this was his perspective anyways. And if they kept as friends, would that even do any good to her? Being so close, yet so distant, never able to reach the truth she wanted, pouring her feelings just to have them splashed back at her face. He didn't want that. He didn't want to be a source of pain to Tsunotori just as much as he didn't want her to see in him in a bad way. He had to do something. Oi oi Izuku, calm down. Let's not get hasty. Nana sensed the turmoil inside Midoriya like a cauldron, a magma pit building up pressure. This was anything but good for this situation. I don't know about that, Tsunotori-san. Eh? I mean, I also like to spend time reading and all, but maybe we really shouldn't be that close. I talked with Kendo. She doesn't care about it. I know, but I do. What? No, take that back, Izuku. Tsunotori felt it again, that sting inside her chest, but rather than a thorn, it felt more like a stake now. Come on, Midoriya-san. I know you liked my cosplays. Friends can do these things together, right? Maybe, but our case is a little different. It is? Yeah, I think it would be for the best. Stop right there, young man. Don't you dare to finish this sentence, Nana almost shouted inside his mind, but he was too much troubled to listen. If we dropped that already, I feel that if we keep too close, you would feel bad. Don't you think so? You idiot, there's the shout at full lungs. Midoriya-san, you're not making any sense now, ha 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 ha. We can totally be close friends. Despite her words and the forced laugh, it was clear to him that she was saddened, heartbroken even, but he had to scratch that option from her mind. If Tsunotori kept holding on to the idea that they could be together, Midoriya wouldn't resist and would tell her everything, and then it was over. Stop drawing conclusions. Damn it, Izuku, why do you have to shut me down right now? A frustrated and angered Nana shouted at the dark void. The boy was so divided and confused that his mind practically severed their connection. It never happened before, which meant Midoriya was clearly nowhere near a sane state of mind. Am I now? I don't think you like this option either, Tsunotori-san. What are you talking about? Of course I'm fine with being just close friends, she said, waving a hand. Are you really fine with that? Yes, I'm fine, totally fine. He took in a deep breath and sighed. Well, I'm not. If you won't be honest with me, at least be with yourself. Look who's talking. Izuku, stop running your mouth and let me fix this train wreck. Just repeat whatever I say, okay, Izuku? Tsunotori widened a smile in her face, but as soon as he looked at her, her lips trembled. All her resolve was thrown through the window and her eyes got watered. Holding that shaking smile as best as she could, she somehow managed to prevent her voice from cracking completely. That's a cruel thing to say, Midoriya-san. You're just joking, right? You're not serious, are you? Maybe it was the number of lies that he said in sequence, or the teardrops pooling at the corner of her eyes threatening to roll down her cheeks that were the breaking point for him. He didn't know. All that Midoriya knew was that he was about to commit a sin. When under pressure, he was able to analyze the situation, form plans, deal with many outcomes, but this wasn't a fight against a villain. If nothing, he was the evil one here, and this lapse of judgment gave him the worst of the ideas. If Tsunotori liked to spend time with him so much, the way to solve it was simple, just as she said. She simply had to not like it anymore. Why is that important anyway? It's not like I'm special or anything. You'll do fine without me. You can. You can tell everyone about your hobbies. They are your friends, they'll understand. But what about you? Don't you understand me already? These are different things. I don't get it. Why are you even say this now? If you didn't care before then, why listen to me in the first place? She was really getting desperate, and her vision was already blurred. I did what I had to. Also, I didn't expect you to get so attached to me. Like I said, I'm not special. But you're to me. You were the first person besides my sis that didn't treat me differently because I'm a weeb. You are what?
You heard me. I like anime, and I will fight for my waifus. And I had a body pillow before coming to Japan. And I like monster girls, and I play gacha games like a madman, and I shamelessly pirate sometimes because I can't wait for the official release, and—
Tsunotori, slow down. I didn't get half of what you said. The blondie was beginning to hyperventilate and Midoriya was completely lost. What should he do now? While he held his head with both hands, Tsunotori looked down, visibly shaking. He heard the faint sound of hiccups, a terrible sign. She slowly held his shirt with two tight fists, resting her forehead right on his chest. Somehow her horns didn't poke his eyes, although he wouldn't mind in the slightest, given the situation. Soon the fabric of his shirt got wet, and if it didn't show what was happening, the sobs from the poor blondie clearly meant she was crying. That meant he failed. Utter and spectacularly. That's not fair, you know. His voice broke down. He could no longer pretend he didn't feel sad about it. Why can't I sob, have you? Is it because I'm too short? No, that's not it. Am I too annoying? No, You hate me? No, I don't hate you. Then her head shot up and her watery eyes looked right into his. A tidal wave of guilt hit him and Midoriya wasn't sure he could stand in front of her right now. He never felt a desire so strong to run away, but at the same time, her small hands gripping his shirt rooted his feet on the ground like the tree next to them. Why don't you let me be your friend? Why do I have to be excluded? Midoriya couldn't conjure the strength to lie again. I'm not worthy of your time or your care, Tsunotori-san. Stop saying that and let me decide this, please. I'm a huge nerd. I like smart guys. I don't know how to keep a conversation going most of the time. Then I'll do the talking. I am a hero fanatic. I overreact whenever I see a pro, and I have a lot of notebooks. He was already starting to sound and look like the usual Midoriya. I'm a huge weeb, try to one-up that. I mumble a lot. That looks quite cute when you get used to it. Are the excuses gone? If so, I want to say that Sniff, I don't care about any of this. You accepted me for what I am. It is only fair that I do the same. She got closer to him, slowly wrapping her arms around his torso. She didn't go all the way around, waiting for him to do the same. Midoriya moved his hands temptingly, but he ended resting them on her shoulders, pushing her away. Looking at her face, Tsunotori had wet streaks going down her cheeks. I want this, Midoriya-san. I want to be with you. I want you to be happy. With me, if possible. Do you know what I had to deal with? Senpai asking you out on a date, the girls from your class being so clingy, Kendo not caring about it. The guys were saying mean things about you, and I simply couldn't stand it. And that crazy girl at your dorms, why do you even keep her around? Doesn't she make your life a living hell? She took a moment to breathe in. I would do anything to be just your friend, Midoriya-san. To me, you're worth that I would go any lengths for you. You're putting me too high in a pedestal, Tsunotori-san. Why? Midoriya, just let me love you, damn it. If her English was slipping, she was mad for sure. Despite the language barrier, her message was delivered clear as crystal. You wouldn't say that if you knew. He said shyly, looking away as looking at Tsunotori caused too much guilt. Know what? What is there to know? Give one good reason to not love you, Midoriya. Tsunotori didn't know if she was simply heartbroken or if this was anger. Perhaps a mix with a tinge of frustration. On the other side, Midoriya looked her in the eyes so intensely that she actually flinched a little. You want one? I'll give you 15. You know the girls from my class? I go out with every one of them, scratch them, I have sex with them almost on a daily basis. And guess what? Except for you, all your girlfriends from 1B, Hatsum from the support course, and even Midnight Sensei and MT Lady. If you knew the number of nights I spent awake. And here you are, saying that I'm the greatest person there is, haha. That's pretty funny actually, ha ha ha. The boy sat against the tree bark, holding his head on his hands. Why did he even say this? Wasn't his goal to not let her discover about it? Suddenly his head cleared out, his heart stopped beating 1,000 times per minute, and a faint voice in the back of his mind gained volume again. Well, that escalated quickly, Nana said, feeling relieved that she could talk to him again. Ah, Nana-san, what did I do? I blacked out for a second and... Yeah, you messed up big time now. It was painful to watch. Their talk didn't go for long because Tsunotori fell to her knees, her back turned to him. Tsunotori-san? That is a hell of an excuse, Midoriya. He flinched as he knew she was crying even more now. She slowly turned around looking over her shoulder. It is an excuse, right? Sob, you just hate me and don't want anything with me, don't you? His head hung low again. No, this is 100% the truth. She hiccuped stronger. What about Kendo? She knows about it. She knows for a while, and she is part of my harem. She has nothing against it, pretty much as you said. So she allowed you to get more girls? Sob. Not quite, she wasn't my first. Then Ochako, my class, then Hatsum. Midnight and MT. Lady, then Kendo, and the rest of your class I'm not exactly proud of it, but I don't hate it either. I love them, and they love me, and I wouldn't have it any other way. We do get pretty intimate from time to time. So, that time you said you couldn't come, you were. Yes, and Nimir said that I had a natural way to attract the girls around me, so I should take more care, be more aware, that's why. He looked up at her now. That's why I didn't want to be so close to you, to prevent exactly this. But I realized that too late. Do you understand now? I'm not the good person you think I am. Tsunotori turned around completely, rubbed some tears away after staring at him for a while, then got up, still crying. No, I don't get it. What kind of hentai plot is this? You're telling me we can't be together because you have a harem. That's it. Are you not disgusted or anything? He asked incredulously. Hell yeah, I am. Who goes around collecting girls like they are Pokemon? And you lied to everyone. We even made a party because Kendo was finally dating you. And you dragged her get into this big lie. Every one of my friends lied to my face for who knows how much time. Gasp, is that what Green Valley means? Tsunotori, I didn't get all of your English. Let go if you didn't understand. Why do you care? So you don't want to add me to your harem? Okay, fine. I'll just be by my room then while you FCK every single one of my friends like rabbits or something. The blondie shouted, stomping the floor with her hoof. Tsunotori-san, are you okay? He asked because she was getting red like a tomato. Bad time to ask. She glared at him, and he could tell she was wishing to have been born with a laser eyes quirk or something similar. You know what? No, I'm not. Okay, with this. And so she stormed away, leaving dents on the innocent grass as her hooves hit the ground with a surprising amount of strength for someone her size. Midoriya stood still for some good 5 minutes, sitting in silence. Even Nana gave some space to him because no one, and I mean no one, was expecting this outburst from the small, cute, and apparently harmless blondie. While Midoriya returned inside, glad after discovering that no one was nearby to hear the shouting fest, Tsunotori made her way back to 1B dorms. Doors were slammed, persons were passed by unanswered, and after flopping on her bed, she screamed and screamed, muffling everything into her fluffy pillow. When all the anger died down and she couldn't bring herself to scream anymore, which took a while, her eyes watered again. The tears strikes back. It was a long, long night. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey through What If Everyone Gets Obsessed with Deku and Had Harem. I hope you found it as intriguing and thought-provoking as we did. A big shout out to Guy number 23 for crafting such a compelling story. Don't forget to check out their profile on FanfictionNet for more amazing works. The link is in the description below. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to What If Deku 2 for more fascinating explorations into the world of fanfiction and fantasy. Your support helps us create more content like this, and we're always excited to hear your thoughts and suggestions in the comments section. See you guys in the next video.